And good morning. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. We'll get the scenarios up here momentarily. Drew Forrester is scheduled to be here. Where is he?
It's a good question.
Well, that's kind of your area. You are the producer of the show.
I do know.
You do know?
I do.
What? What do you know?
I know that it's...
Okay, well then what's the answer?
The answer is I'll find out.
Okay. We got to do a little better than that, man. We got to... That's the answer you kind of have to have. Drew Forrester may be here. We'll find out. I mean, it won't be the end of the world if he doesn't. I promise you that. And we will figure out a way to get by. Mark Feinsand from MLB.com is going to check in a little bit later on. He had just written this big profile about Grayson Rodriguez, so I am admittedly interested to see how perhaps that ends up being impacted. Also, where are the logs? Okay. So there's that. Mark Feinsand will join us to discuss Grayson Rodriguez, who, of course, will not be with the Orioles to start this season. Saw some interesting stuff as I was diving more into it yesterday, like Eno Saris mentioning, whatever the Orioles want to say about his results, his stuff based on Stuff Plus was inarguable during the spring. So essentially suggesting that the results were bad luck more than they were anything actually to do with what Grayson Rodriguez was doing. Now, I'm sure some of you old school baseball purists would say, well, that's not how this works. You don't get to say the results don't matter. The results matter. I thought that Mike Elias and what the Orioles were doing was supposed to be more about reading into these numbers and things like I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. We did try to reach out to Eno Saris. We haven't heard back from him yet, but I admit this is not my area. Like, I don't know the definition of Stuff Plus and how to use it to define whether or not someone is actually making the pitches they need to make and just getting bad results anyway versus in certain scenarios, did they not make... If the problem with Grayson Rodriguez is he wasn't getting out of the fourth inning, then was he not making the pitches that he needed to make? Was he making great pitches for 3 innings, and then in the spot where he needed to make better pitches, he wasn't making those pitches? I don't know. We didn't get into Grayson Rodriguez much yesterday because, Lamar Jackson rules our world, but I am very torn about this. Like, admittedly, I'm extraordinarily torn about the Grayson Rodriguez thing. Because I do think it matters. And I know Mike Elias was very defensive when he was asked about it. Like, almost alarmingly so. I do think it matters that, as he pointed out, it's not like Grayson Rodriguez is going down in order for someone who is unqualified to be in the rotation. It does matter that there are 5 qualified starters that are going to pitch for the Orioles to start the season. That does matter. But for, as I know Jon Meoli wrote about in the Baltimore Banner, to get me to just ignore the other side of it, to ignore the Orioles' history with service time, to ignore all of those things, I can't do that either. So they did that to themselves. They created that problem for themselves. We'll talk to Mark Feinsand about Grayson Rodriguez. Maybe we'll reach out to Meoli this morning as well and see if he wants to talk about it. I don't know where we are with other things, but maybe we'll do that too. We need to get to a Lamar-O-Meter update. Lamar-O-Meter brought to you by Glory Days Grill. I am headed over there today. I am looking forward to it. There will be smoky thigh wings in my future. Or, what I really love is actually the cauliflower wings at Glory Days Grill. Ooh. They're massive. I don't know what it is. Like, if somebody hears that and says, really, you're going to get giant pieces of cauliflower? Yes, I appreciate that about Glory Days Grill. I can't wait to be there. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in. Yesterday, we allowed our friend Josh Charles to set the Lamar-O-Meter. I almost said what you say. Yeah. He moved it up all the way back to 68%. Phew!
Quite bullish.
From 39% on our emergency meter reading on Tuesday after Lamar's tweets came out to all the way up to 68%. I feel like a course correction maybe is required here, but let's talk, right? Last 24 hours, Lamar goes to Twitter. Feels the need to address unprompted his decision or his I don't know if you want to call it a decision, his not playing to end this season. Then he follows that up by addressing a number of questions or comments from Ravens fans. But this started with an unprompted tweet. I don't remember me sitting out on my guys week 1 versus the Jets to week 12 versus the Broncos. How come all of a sudden I sit out because of money, which I could have gotten hurt at any time within that time frame, when we know the Super Bowl's been on my mind since April 2018? Let's get real. I'd rather have a 100% PCL than go out there and play horrible, forcing myself to put my guys in a bad situation. Now that's selfish to me. Could Lamar Jackson have played at the end of the season? As I said a bunch of times, I thought it was extraordinary for you to believe that the answer was that suddenly a guy that I think should have held out to start last season decided that all of a sudden he was going to hold out. I think that's extraordinary. Is there some world where if he had a long-term contract, he would have pushed himself? He says, I would have stunk. What's the truth? I don't know. Drew doesn't know.
What are you talking about, Bryce Harper?
Yes, Bryce Harper.
Should have held out.
None of us know. None of us know what the actual. All right.
Got to open that window.
Okay, we can do that. That's fine. What is going to affect you?
Yeah, I told you this last week.
Your performance? You weren't here last week. You haven't showed up for work in a long time.
2 weeks.
I'm pretty sure it's been like 4 weeks since
I can't have that thing closed.
What is your deal?
I don't know. I have some sort of a claustrophobic condition.
What is going on with you? Well, you got other problems.
Sorry, I'm late. There was this full crowd scene at the food line.
Oh, was there?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
My bad. Before you were born.
No. Trust me. I know Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
No, you don't.
Leave him alone. It's been a tough day so far.
It's been texting me. He's like, "You coming in?" I'm like, "I'll be there."
Sluggish start.
I had to.
Well, that is the job of the producer. When I said at the beginning of the show, "Hey, where's Drew?" I get back.
Starving. I had to go to Royal Farms.
Know.
I've been up since 5:30, so leave me alone.
All right, chill. You're coming in here like a bat out of hell. You're coming in hang on. You're coming in like he used to.
Oh, my God.
All right?
I do want to talk about the MMA fights I went to Saturday night.
Okay, we can do that.
Which, by the way, thanks for your reply to my text.
What are you talking about?
I sent you a text that said, you want to go with me?
Oh, if you did, I'm sorry. I do feel bad if that's the case.
Drew.
Well, I texted him because I had never been before, and I wanted.
Oh, this was Shogun Fights, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I've been to Shogun Fights.
Dude, there was a guy in the ring.
Yeah. Hang on, we're setting the Lamar-O-Meter right now.
Okay, there was a guy in the ring.
If you had showed up on time, I would have let you do it.
You could have beat up.
Really?
I felt so bad for this guy. When he walked down the hall, down the thing, and he took his shirt off, and all of his handlers were there, I said to my buddy Dale, I'm like, that guy is getting his ass kicked. And he lasted about a minute and a half. I have no idea what he was doing in there. I think his friends afterwards might have said to him,
yeah, right. Maybe this might not be the path for you.
Everybody else looked like a fighter.
Maybe we go back to teaching social studies
even
or whatever.
The guys that got beat up looked like fighters.
Yeah.
This guy, I think his buddies probably said to him when it was over.
Right, but just maybe another path. Yeah. Just whatever it's going to be, another path.
He could beat you and I up, but he wasn't beating. But he wasn't beating any of those guys.
Yeah,
up.
Maybe not.
The Lamar-O-Meter, you can put it at 2.
The 2? That's what you want to put it at?
You can leave it at 80.
I would have let you pick it, but you didn't show up on time.
You can leave it for me at 80.
It's at 68 currently. Josh Charles set it to 68 yesterday. So I debated letting you do the. Do you want to be the one to set the Lamar-O-Meter today? Do you want to set the number? Will you take it? Will you take it seriously?
Very seriously.
All right. We will allow that then. So let me go through this.
Very seriously.
That Lamar starts this thing last night by unprompted bringing up, for whatever reason, months later, these accusations that he was holding out on the team at the end of the season. Why he waited till now to tweet about that? And again, unprompted on Twitter.
Arthur Blank.
You think that's what happened? You think that
Arthur
because
Blank,
of Arthur Blank's comments?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
But Arthur Blank brought him being hurt, not him holding out. He didn't say that.
But Lamar mentioned in the thing, I wasn't hurt week 1 to week 12.
Right, correct. But he didn't bring. He said very clearly, "How come all of a sudden I sit out because of money?" Like he's clearly addressing the suggestion that he held out on the team at the end of last season, which. For whatever Arthur Blank said, he did not say, I think Lamar sat out on his team last year.
I have to read Arthur Blank's comments again.
For some reason, he felt the need to address that part of it. Again, I don't know why he wouldn't have done that months ago.
I feel bad for Lamar now.
I don't know
I'm
why.
going the other way.
I don't know why he wouldn't have
Poor
brought
guy.
that up in January. That idea. He then started getting responses from Ravens fans, I used it. I was like, man, if we're going to do a question and answer session, I got some questions. I was like, I'm happy to jump in. Never got an answer to my question, but it's what it is. We all of a sudden got a bunch of Lamar Q&A session about various topics, one of which was Boats and Bows tweeting, "Real talk, Lamar, how come you did not travel with the team for the playoff game?" To which Lamar said, "After I traveled to the Pittsburgh game, my PCL got inflated." I'm sure he means inflamed. Inflamed, so a few of us discussed it, and I got the okay to stay so I could try to recover faster. Now, while John Harbaugh didn't bring that up during the season, to be fair, John was very defensive of Lamar Jackson not being there in Pittsburgh in the postseason press conference. What that means, I don't know. The Ravens very clearly want Lamar Jackson back, so it's not likely that they would trash Lamar Jackson either. I would also suggest that the Ravens going this far to try to get Lamar Jackson back wouldn't hold up if they think that why would you want a guy back that you think had quit on your football team? If you genuinely believe that this guy quit on your football team, why would you want him back as your quarterback? At any price. Because the price, even if it's not what Lamar wants, still ain't going to be cheap.
Can I offer some semantics to that?
You can try, yes.
Okay. I would say that there's a difference between, and I know I get what you're doing. There's a difference between quitting on your team and being able to play, but deciding it might be a better idea to not to. I do think there's a difference there.
I think that if you believe that someone could be helping the football team and isn't, that is a bridge that you can't go past. I would say if that's genuine what they believe, I think that their attempts to keep Lamar Jackson are shameful.
Okay.
If they genuinely believe that Lamar Jackson would have been able to play and seriously help, that would not have been limited, would not have been.
Well, I think everybody. I mean, I would say that's probably the key word. If this was, it's not going to court, but like if this went to court, that might be one of the key words. Limited. Would he have been 100% against the Bengals? I think the answer to that is probably no. He wouldn't have been. Or, yes, he wouldn't have been. One of the two. He wouldn't have been 100%.
But we don't. By the way, the percent thing is always brutally different.
I'm just saying.
Nobody knows exactly what the percentage is.
Well, limited is less than 100%.
If they believe that he would have played at a level high enough, boy, this is almost impossible to come up with a definition for. If you want to say, hey, there could be a room for semantics between those two things, fine. I'll give you that.
I think the word quit would never enter into their vocabulary at all. I think quit is a really bad word, right?
I think it's a word you can't come past.
In the world of sports, it's one of the worst words you can use for an athlete and or a team is to say they quit.
But I think the totality of not playing, not traveling suggested to many people that Lamar had quit on the team. That if you look at all of these things, that he's not playing and won't even travel with the team.
But you're talking about who? The fans?
Correct.
Oh, well, the fans don't count.
And I don't disagree with that for what it's worth. I don't disagree with that at all.
The fans don't count as it relates
but that's sort of my point. I don't believe that the Ravens believe that he quit on the team. I don't believe that.
I don't either.
Because if they did, they wouldn't be trying this hard to keep Lamar Jackson as their quarterback.
I would agree with that.
That's sort of the point that I'm making.
Okay.
If they actually believed he quit on the team.
I don't think there's any question the Ravens want Lamar back.
Well, they damn well better at this point. Right. They have nothing.
and I wrote this yesterday. Like, this is probably the most bizarre part of this whole thing is both of these people are in dire need of one another. At this point, now that all the dust is settled, because 2 months ago, you might have said, not you, but anyone might have said, well, Lamar's not in dire need of them. Hell, there's 8 teams that'll come chasing after Lamar, and they'll give the draft picks up, and they'll give $300 million.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. Well, now no one wants him, and the only team he's got left is the Ravens. The Ravens don't have another quarterback. You can talk all you want about Tyler Huntley. So they're both in dire need of one another.
Well,
that's the shocking part of the whole thing.
Let's talk more about that in a second. Let me finish the Lamar Lamar sessions.
Nothing beats this Royal Farms coffee.
We're not going to debate about that.
I don't care where you get it.
We're not going to debate about that. A bunch of people tried coming at Lamar about him being selfish and wanting money, which.
Tell me something every athlete doesn't know.
Of
course he's selfish
by the way,
wants money.
So are you.
Right.
So are you.
Come on.
The nonsense of people being like, I thought all he cared about was winning.
No.
Do you care about?
Come on.
But do you walk into your company today and say, you know what, pay me less?
No.
Pay me less.
Now,
all I care about is being a good team player. I mean,
what happens when you do these? When you have this is the worst thing in the world, by the way. This interaction with and this is where I would say he's insane. Don't go on the internet.
Strong disagree.
Don't go on the internet and talk to the fans.
Strong disagree.
Well,
that's all we got. But I would rather him talk. I would rather him talk more formally. I would rather him hold a press conference.
Right.
I would rather him, sit down with a media person. I would rather all that. But if in lieu of that, if at least we get Lamar Jackson to talk about something,
right, that's fair.
And we can have that, I'll take it.
Okay, but this is dumb.
Yes, I think he would be better suited sitting down with Josina Anderson or something like that, or appearing on whatever it would be. It certainly wouldn't be. The Ravens don't have a sports radio partner, so I don't know who it would be. I don't know who it could be in town. I don't think there. I guess
there is one person.
Who's that? Jerry? Is that who it is? He appears on the Adam Jones podcast, starring Jerry Coleman.
There is one guy who will ask all the hard questions.
Who's that?
Oh, you know who.
Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy. Let him go over and talk to that guy.
He would ask all the hard
questions. Right.
For sure.
I mean, look, trust me, I'd rather, if he wanted to appear on GCR, he could do that. Maybe not Friday. If he wanted to appear on GCR.
Why not Friday? I'm
out on Friday.
Well, that'd be a good day.
Yeah,
I'll come in and I'll do the questions.
You'll do it? You'll handle it?
Yeah, what's
day?
up, dog?
Yeah, right.
You signing or what?
I mean, I think there are better ways to go about doing it, but I think he's better talking than not talking.
I can't do it Friday either.
What do you have going on Friday?
Penguin Tour Championship.
I don't even. What is that?
The Penguin Tour.
Sure.
It's a winter tour up in New York.
I know you love the Penguins. I knew deep down inside you've been a liar all these years.
The Tour Championship.
You've always. Oh, it's the Tour Championship
on Friday.
Do they have? Can you hit the green at the 17th hole though, or? That's the Players Championship.
Yeah, that's a par 5. It's easy.
I tried it. I tried anyway. All right, so that's the entire Lamar diatribe, which brings us to.
By the way, the Masters is next week.
Are you sure?
And I do.
They're still doing that.
I do anticipate some sort of Masters talk here.
Okay. I mean, if you want, we can look into giving you your own hour, and I'll just
that'd be good.
Maybe come in another time. You and Griffin can talk about the Masters. I don't know what there is to say. This goes back to something you tweeted the other day that I quote tweeted because
I got quote tweeted.
It's very similar to what you just brought up.
Okay, I love it. I got quote
for whatever reason, we've continued to try to pretend like this is all one-sided. And in the process, we're ignoring that the Ravens are in absolute hell. What you just brought up is 100% true. They don't only just need each other this badly, they're in equal trouble on both sides. The Ravens can't sit back and just say, well, Lamar's really screwing us. Like, this is all his fault. Because it doesn't change their reality. Because their reality is they've gone all in. There's no backup plan. There's no life preserver being thrown. They've made the decision that Lamar Jackson is their guy come hell or high water. To the point, they don't have a quarterback if Lamar Jackson's not playing.
Right. I still think the Ravens, I still believe, and I guess the only thing I would say is there ever going to be a point? And let me say, because there are so many moving parts to this. The Ravens want him to be their quarterback. I don't think there is any question about that. They just don't want to pay him what he wants to be paid. It's really that simple.
And step beyond that, you say that they don't want to negotiate against themselves.
But just the entire process, because it's had 6 pieces to it. But since the beginning, here is the summary of it. They don't agree on his value.
But
they just don't.
But they've also left in, but if that is your value, we'll pay it anyway. If you go out and find out that's your value,
I don't
we'll
know
pay
about
it.
That. But if If somebody called today and said we're going to give him $300 million, I think the Ravens would say you can have him.
I really do. The idea of losing your franchise quarterback.
Well, I'm telling you, I just think
you can say that.
Then they're giving him.
Then they should all be fired.
Oh, okay, well,
but that's the reality.
That's neither here nor there.
The reality is you can't have this end. If the Colts want to do that, wait a second. If the Colts want to do that and give you the 4th overall pick, and you know you can draft a quarterback, fine. But if that's the Patriots doing that, and you have no quarterback moving forward, you can't do this.
Okay, so there's. But I'm just saying that the summary of this entire thing, for all the hours you've spent on it and all the artwork you've done, they just don't agree on the value, his value. That's it, right?
I think you're oversimplifying it because you're ignoring the concept of the non-exclusive tag. The non-exclusive tag is
no one's made him an offer.
Great, you find out what your value is.
He has.
We'll match that.
They've
left room in there for this is how committed we are.
But he's found that out.
Wait a second.
He's had 3 weeks.
Their commitment to him isn't just we'll only pay you this number. Their commitment by what they have done, manipulating the cap and being objectively worse as a football team today. They just lost Calais Campbell on top of everything. They are an objectively worse football team because they have left room for the number maybe being more than what it is they want to pay Lamar Jackson.
But these had 21 days.
I understand that, but it's the statement about how badly they want Lamar Jackson to be their quarterback.
Okay.
They have said, we're not negotiating against ourselves. That's what they're doing.
Okay.
Understandably, they've made this commitment to say, we're not going to negotiate again. There is no other offer on the table. Why would we up ours? Ours is the best offer.
Right, sure.
The leverage that Lamar Jackson has is you haven't been able to improve the football team. You needed a quarterback and a better football team.
Right.
You don't have a better football team.
Here's the one thing I want to say about all these events of the last week. All I wonder now, because every day or 2 days or 3 days that goes by, something new happens. Is there ever going to be a point where Steve says, let's cut him loose? Let's just go make the best deal we can make. Let's get him to sign the tender, and let's cut him loose. And is there a defining moment for that? And was his Monday move, if you want to call it that, was that potentially the final straw? And I don't know the answer to that. Were they miffed enough at that to say?
I think you're drastically overblowing that.
I
read what you wrote.
I don't know that.
I don't think John Harbaugh gives a rat's ass about a breakfast press conference at an owners' meetings. I don't
either, but
all he was going to be doing is answering Lamar Jackson questions.
But I do think at some point, whether or not it's Steve or Eric, but probably more Steve, because Steve's the one who has to pay it. At some point, I wonder. I'm not saying I know this because I don't know this. I just wonder, is there some point where Steve says, all right, that's enough. I'm not having him embarrass us like this and play with us like this. Let's just go find the best deal we can find, which I don't even know what that is.
This is a genuine question. What do you think was embarrassing about that?
Because it usurped John's moment to speak.
He doesn't want that moment. John Harbaugh has no interest in speaking.
It doesn't matter. He's there. He's at 10:30. He's speaking.
Right.
And at 10:25, this social media message is published. It could have been published 4 days. It was clearly an intent to strike.
But it didn't change. John Harbaugh was going to spend 20 minutes answering Lamar Jackson questions.
But it was clearly an intent to disrupt.
I guess. But
no, you know it was.
No, I don't know that it was.
Of course you do.
Drew, I would say anybody who's actually dealt with Lamar Jackson's people would understand that if you think there's any amount of plotting involved, you're giving them more credit than they deserve at this point.
You should just take the offered plea on this one, Lamar. You know you did this on purpose.
I know that you want it to be that. I'm telling you,
care.
Every single one of us that has dealt with that camp would push back and say, dude, you're giving them way more credit than anything they've done to this point. No. You're considering
very naive.
From the outside, if you've not dealt with them, I think that's absolutely the way that it would look. If you have dealt with this camp, you would know that there has been nothing plotting at all. That you are suggesting that the same group that allowed for the entire gym guy to be calling around to football teams.
How much is that thing?
I don't know. We'll look into it. Your suggestion is that those people are so savvy that they timed this thing out to happen at the exact moment.
Yes.
Those two things do not correlate.
There is no way possible that they just happened to put that tweet out at 10:25 Monday morning. No way
if
possible.
it was
He's not even awake at 10:25.
If it was anyone else, I might agree with you. I might.
You're being naive.
No. I'm not being naive. I'm considering all of the evidence, which I have. You're not. You're just deciding what the fact is because you decided what it is.
I know when somebody's playing dirty pool.
You keep coming back to dirt. What is dirty about it?
The intent to disrupt.
Disrupt what?
John Harbaugh speaking at 10:30.
He's going to be answering Lamar Jackson questions for 20 minutes.
Correct.
One way or the other.
I know.
Nothing changed. Nothing.
Except he decided to launch that at 10:25 to disrupt John Harbaugh.
You keep saying disrupt. What was disrupted?
John Harbaugh.
How?
By that post going
what
up
did
at
it
10:25.
What did it change?
It didn't change anything.
That's the point.
But it was done with the intent to disrupt John Harbaugh.
So you think that the owner of the football team, who has been wildly committed, has allowed his team to bend over backwards and say, we're not going to be any better at all, is suddenly going to say, well, because John Harbaugh had to answer the exact same questions he was going to have to answer anyway, suddenly I'm now mad about that, and I'm going to screw over the football team and say you can't have a quarterback anymore.
I don't know if he would say it exactly like that.
Yeah, right.
But I do wonder, that's why I said this at the beginning, I do wonder if there's ever a moment where the Ravens say enough is enough with this guy. That's all. The Ken Francis thing, was that the moment? Maybe that was the moment. I don't even know. Maybe when the Ken Francis thing happened, Steve said, okay, enough's enough with this goof. I don't know. And that's why I said, I wonder if there something that he could do or has done that would make the Ravens say, this is futile. We just don't feel like dealing with this guy
And
anymore.
if next year they're playing...
But if they do that, they don't have a quarterback.
That's the point.
Well, of course.
Like, that's what
They're
this
going to have a quarterback because he's going to be here.
Well, I assume so.
He's going to be here.
You're creating a scenario where they just say, the hell with it.
No, I'm creating a scenario where I say he does something that makes them push away from the table and say, we've tried with this clown.
What would
enough's
that
enough.
be?
I don't know. But he keeps doing dumb stuff, and eventually someone's going to say, enough's enough. I don't know what that might be. He might do something really dumb next week, like put himself on the internet with a Falcons jersey on because he's goofy.
By the way, for the people that think the thing the other day, I did recognize this. The people that were trying to make it so explosive, Lamar Jackson asking for a trade, he didn't even do the bare minimum of things that people ask for when they say they ask for a trade. He still left all of his Ravens stuff up on social media. The guy hates Baltimore so much, he didn't even do the thing that everyone does when they say they're asking for a trade.
I mean, I have now switched my gears on the guy to the point where I am feeling sorry for him. Like
I don't know where that would come.
I just feel sorry for him. I think it's so obvious he has no idea what he's doing. Like, and I know this is the dead horse that we've beaten to the ground and beaten to the ground and beaten to the ground, and we got to dig another grave. If you just would have somebody represent him who had a half a brain, it would all get done. I can't for the life of me figure out why he doesn't acquiesce on that, unless it's just pride. And maybe it is. And maybe it's just the fact that he says, by hell or high water, I'm going to make this happen, and I'm not giving in, and I'm not going to have an agent. But by doing that, all you're doing is it's a catastrophe. It's a catastrophe. And he could have had $250 million in his hand.
Maybe so.
It's
maybe
a catastrophe.
So, but it still doesn't change the Ravens' reality.
I'm not talking about the Ravens right now.
No, it matters.
Okay, but it doesn't matter to me as it relates to like feeling bad for the guy.
You keep saying,
have this in your hand.
You can feel bad. I don't feel bad for him at all. There's no
terrible
world in which I feel bad for him. This is his.
I've gone the other way.
He's done what he wants to do. That's his business. The Ravens.
It didn't have to be like this.
It doesn't have to be like this for anybody. But the Ravens could have tried 2 years ago to overpay. They could overpay him today and be done with it.
But
they're still in the boat that they're in. They're in this boat. They can't get out of it now. Like, this is where they are.
Let's talk about the MMA.
We can't yet. We have to set the Lamar-O-Meter.
Well, you know what I'm going to say.
What are you going to say?
100%.
Okay, I need you to take it seriously.
Well, part of that is I would say that I'm setting it, and I'll give in and say maybe the Ravens aren't pissed about Monday, because if they are, it would change my opinion. I'm just telling you.
I can't even believe you're trying to make it a thing. It blows my mind.
I can tell you,
they've lost football players over this, and you think the thing that's going to push them over the top is that John Harbaugh had to answer the same questions he was going to have to answer for 20 minutes.
82%.
82.
Make sure. The Lamar-O-Meter is brought to you by Glory Days Grill. Drew Forrester has moved it to 82%, officially the highest reading in the history of the Lamar-O-Meter.
I think it's a done deal that he gets hurt and doesn't play the whole season.
Yeah, that's where you're going.
It's 82% chance of that.
Yeah,
is that what we're doing?
No, that's not how Lamar-O-Meter works.
I'm pretty sure he's going to sit out at some point.
Not the way that it works.
And quit on the team.
82%.
82% chance he quits on the team.
From Drew Forrester that Lamar Jackson will be the Ravens quarterback
Where's he
for
going?
Week 1 of 2023.
He doesn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, that part, I get what you're saying.
He doesn't.
No. There's two things that you're still ignoring. You're still ignoring the part
where
CFL. No. You're still ignoring a bunch of things. You're still ignoring the part where there's a team that's poking around that isn't telling you that because they don't know that they're getting him. And until they know that they're getting him, they don't want you to think that there's any chance that they're going to end up. You're ignoring that possibility altogether.
Who would that be?
I think there's plenty. I think
Who?
If any team that can't draft their quarterback, any team that's walking into next season,
who?
The Falcons, because they might not be able to get their quarterback at 8.
Okay.
The Commanders, who don't have a quarterback. The Patriots, who don't have a quarterback.
Apparently said today they're not interested.
So is everybody else. I keep saying the same thing. If they don't know that they're going to get him, they don't want you to think that they're in on him because they don't want to have missed on someone.
Who's going to be the quarterback in New England next year?
With Tom Brady?
Of course.
Yeah, right. Tom Brady.
But, dude, you know that's happening,
If the Colts don't love the 4th quarterback in the draft and are afraid someone's going to trade above them to get whoever the 3rd quarterback is, the Colts are absolutely in this
the Colts
mix.
are the one team I would say, of all the teams, they're still the one team I would say could be sniffing around.
Well, I think there's one other.
Sure.
The 49ers are the team that gets thrown into the equation because the 49ers with Lamar Jackson are by far the best football team that exists. There is no better team on paper. The moment the 49ers acquire Lamar Jackson, they're immediately the Super Bowl favorites.
They better schedule all their games between September and November.
That's true because, as we know, he's never played past November. That's never occurred.
I love it.
The season's always ended right then.
I love it.
Because 2 years, of course, is the story of eternity. The 49ers were the best team on paper. The one argument you can make is that this brings, if it's a trade, it brings the 49ers into the equation where they couldn't have been in the equation on the non-exclusive franchise tag because they don't have a first-round pick. But the Ravens would have to really like Trey Lance, and if you have questions about, it wouldn't be a move I would make. There's lots of moves here that I wouldn't make.
Me neither.
But yet, you know.
So what do you think his completion percentage will be?
Whose?
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan? Well, why wouldn't it be Joe Flacco? Let's just be honest.
Oh, my God.
Why wouldn't it be?
Can you imagine?
Why wouldn't it be?
Can you just close your eyes and picture this? January 27th, 2024. You never thought this would happen, sports fans. Here we are in New England, the showdown between Tom Brady and the Patriots and Joe Flacco and the Baltimore Ravens. Can you imagine that? You know Brady's going back. I mean, there is no question.
Yeah, you know what? By the way, I hear you on that.
By
the way, he could still be the 49ers quarterback for sure.
Right.
Oh, he could definitely end up being the 49ers.
He's not sitting out. He's just not. Like, you know he's coming back to play one more year. He's just waiting for the moment to announce it.
You're probably right.
Every morning I check ESPN. I'm like, is this today where it says breaking news, Brady announces he'll return?
Back. Brady's back. I don't know. Roethlisberger managed to sit out for the entire year, so I don't know.
Yeah, but he's got a wife and kids, and
he's
beat
true.
up.
Brady's not really got anything.
Now.
Well, he's got the movie.
Single and bored already.
Yeah, I hear you.
Right?
I hear you. All right.
Did he just buy a women's basketball team or something?
I think he brought Vegas, right? Isn't that what he did? Yeah, I think that's true. All right, so
anyway,
Drew Forrester
82%.
moves Lamar-O-Meter to 82%.
He doesn't have anywhere to go.
82% is the number, according to Drew Forrester.
And could be higher.
Wow.
He doesn't have anywhere to go.
For what it's worth. I would not have made it 82% today. That's not where I would have gone.
He doesn't have anywhere to go.
I think that you are dealing with the immediacy and not the total. Like, I think that you are still...
Teams have had 21 days to chase after him. No one wants him.
You say that no one wants him. There's 21 days to also figure out that you can still get a quarterback.
No one's making any moves to clear their cap or do anything.
Well, that's not remotely true. The Colts cleared tons of cap.
Well, but they haven't done anything with him.
I understand that. The Colts might be waiting out and say, we really love
If we send him to Indianapolis and we don't get the helmets back,
I know,
I'm going to
that
go
is
nuts.
important. Well, I don't care about that. I care about the history and the records. I'm over the rest of it. But, you can have the helmets if that's what you're looking for. All right, when we come back in, we'll talk about Grayson Rodriguez. We will get into that, and Drew wants to...
He's not better than Lamar.
Well, I don't know. At least we need to consider it. We need to think about it. I got to get Would You Rather Wednesday scenarios
left
posted.
him off the
We'll
roster.
talk about it.
Scumbags.
I'll get you your Would You Rather...
62 games.
What is this?
I got him going to the playoffs.
Oh,
All my baseball predictions are at Drew's Morning Dish today.
I will race
a
over.
surprise World Series.
Do you?
I do.
I can't wait to find out. Is it
Braves?
It's a surprise.
Braves and Indians.
Well, there are no Indians anymore. They're called the Guardians.
Sorry, Guardians. Braves and Guardians.
Today's show brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Betfred is Maryland's newest sports book. It's now up and running just in time for March Madness. Bet $50 and get up to $1,100 in bonus Fred bets. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers for Betfred specials and other great sign-up deals. Drew Forrester is here. It's Glenn Clark Radio. The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at over $60,000 and over $64,000 for lateral officers, with $10,000 signing bonuses available. Plus, cadets start at over $32,000. Great benefits are available like medical, dental, and vision insurance, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days per calendar year with no limit, career advancement to more than 20 specialized units, and more, with further incentives for military service members and veterans. A passion for service, a career for life with the Baltimore County Police Department. Find out more at joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. Must be a United States citizen, have a valid driver's license, and a high school diploma or GED equivalent.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles phenom Gunnar Henderson, breaking down how he was able to become the top prospect in baseball at such a young age, and what could be next in his first full MLB season. Also inside, we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's college programs across the state, and Bo Smoka breaks down another year of wide receiver issues for the Ravens. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Have you experienced hardship due to COVID-19 and want to start a new career path? Look no further than CCBC. Starting in March, CCBC offers short-term career training programs like real estate sales. And the best part, funding is available for those who qualify. Real estate sales is a lucrative career that can provide a stable income and flexibility. With CCBC's real estate sales program, you'll learn everything you need to know to get started in this exciting field. Call us at 443-840-2222 or ccbcmd.edu to learn more. CCBC Real Estate Sales. Your new career starts now with funding available. 443-840-2222 or ccbcmd.edu.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Check out PressBoxOnline.com every day to find daily winners and betting advice from Jeremy Kahn. And if you want some advice about life decisions that you probably shouldn't make, here's Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR. Stan the Fan, Ross Grimsley, Ken Singleton caught up on Monday night. If you missed it, find it at Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, PressBoxOnline.com/video, or YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. Stan the Fan, Charles, Ross Grimsley, and Ken Singleton. You know it's always going to be a good time when those guys get together to talk baseball. Drew,
There's someone here.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's she's actually in charge of. We're going to get a performance review a little bit later. She's monitoring. And
I didn't know she was here. Why didn't you guys tell me she was coming?
I understand that, but we don't want you to act any differently than you would otherwise. She's just monitoring things, and after the show, she's going to have a sit-down with you, and she'll go over how it is that she thinks things are going.
Where are you from?
Don't. That's Griffin's sister. Leave her alone.
Where's she from, then?
Stop.
Where'd
Just
she go to school?
Stop.
Went to Manchester Valley.
Leave her
Where?
Manchester Valley High School. Well, Manchester.
Oh, Manchester Valley, not Manchester. I didn't understand what you said.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Okay. You all right over there? Are you nervous now because you know you're being reviewed? Are
No,
you?
I'm
Yeah,
good.
you're going to deliver the
You can't
same
review me.
stunning performance
All
that
right.
you normally give us here
All
on
right.
the program. Wait till she has to review Griffin's performance from today. Oh,
Not
boy.
a good one today. Huh?
Oh, boy. It's going to be rough.
It's all right.
It's going to be rough.
Hey, I got news for you.
Yeah.
I had a couple bad grades for you back in the day.
Oh, yeah? Did you?
Oh, yeah.
You had a few. Yeah,
Yeah, don't let him ever kid you, Griff.
I
Don't Clark here.
Here's the weird part. You didn't normally do the reviewing. It was normally someone else who did the reviewing, and the reviews were more like, did you guys prepare for today's
Right.
show? You guys do any show prep?
We didn't, and that's the charm of it.
Yeah, that's correct. That's what people expect from us. We don't want to let them down.
Right.
Grayson Rodriguez.
I know every day at 6:07 we started with Raised on the Radio and the Pledge. We did that.
That was exactly what you had prepared for the day.
We did that.
And most days, that got you about 7 minutes closer to the show being over.
People were
and then
entertained.
Somewhere around 6:07, you'd look over and say, all right, well, what do you have for today?
What do we got? What's going on?
What do we have? All right, Grayson Rodriguez.
Everything went well. You dropped the F-bomb that day during the Preakness.
I don't remember that at
It
all.
went downhill from there.
Was that when it went downhill?
Dump that!
Is that when it went downhill?
I did the old alligator
I thought that might have
arms.
been our finest day.
I did the old alligator. I can't get to it. People are calling up going, did you just say the F word? You're like, no.
Now I'm pretty sure on radio you have to say it.
Oh, correct.
I'm pretty sure it's changed.
What were
They
you mad
require
about?
it. The centaur. Centaur.
Oh, the
the
mascot.
guy, the mascot. I
Oh,
don't even remember the
you and
guy's.
I were at the bar down by the stadium,
Yeah.
and the guy came in.
Yeah, right.
You're like,
what
what
the F
is
is
this?
this?
You're like, I know I've had too much to drink, but holy cow.
There's a
Remember, it was like they brought him in on opening day because
yes,
everybody
and
was
they-
there.
they-
and
I don't even think we were there on opening day. I think it was just a random Friday night game that
I
we were
thought it was
hanging
opening
out.
day, but you might be
They
right.
probably did it both, but I'm pretty sure we saw him on a random
I
Friday
remember
night
you
game.
saying to me, I know I've had a little bit too much to drink, but is that a guy and then a horse?
Yeah, his
and
shirt's off. It's a weird thing, man.
that was weird.
All right, Grayson Rodriguez is not part of the team to start the season.
Outraged.
Really?
I mean, you think I'm apoplectic about Lamar?
Okay.
I'm outraged.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who is Grayson Rodriguez? I mean, I'm. What's the story? I read something. He didn't have a good spring, and Elias.
he was
is trying to-
struggling. Elias brought up specifically that he wasn't getting out of the fourth inning. That they believe they have 5 starting pitchers that are better options right now than Grayson Rodriguez is, so they're going with
I'm
those
sure
5
he watched
starting
Cole
pitchers.
Irvin pitch and said, "That guy's going up, and I'm not."
I mean, he's going to start the third game of the season.
I know. Kyle
So-
Gibson's our opening day start.
So
I don't know. I mean, look, I think anytime you're dealing, I know what the big argument is. I know it's a service time thing. That's what people think, right? People think that they're just doing this to him, and they'll bring him up on Memorial Day. Okay, maybe, but I think there's a certain amount of I don't even know how to say it. Like this step going from minor league baseball to the majors is this sounds simple and stupid, but it's a massive jump to do this and to go up to the big leagues and to face 9 bona fide legitimate hitters rather than pitching in Double-A where you face 5 or 6 and Triple-A where you face 6 or 7. You're facing a bona fide big league hitter pretty much all the time. And I think it's a massive jump. And if you and pitchers in particular, I think, are very, very susceptible from a fragility standpoint. They're very susceptible if they come up and get clobbered. You could really damage them. And I think with pitchers, more so than anyone else, if you come up as a hitter and you if you're a 22-year-old kid and you come up, you have some idea of the window in which you're going to hit. I might hit 220. I might hit 260. If my chakras are in line, I hit 280. That's awesome. But I'm probably going to get 2.5 hits every 10 at bats because that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And pitching is much, much different. You can't come up and be a starting pitcher and give up 7 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings, go back out the next time and give up 6 earned runs in 2 2/3, and go out the next time and give up 7 earned runs and 10 hits in 3 2/3. Like, you can't do that, and because it can damage you.
Mm-hmm.
I think you treat pitchers much differently than you treat everyday players.
So
personally,
let's go to a couple things, right? Like, and I'll bring up a number that I know that you're going to say I don't even know what that is. So the question is, if it's about the 4th inning thing, did we actually believe that Grayson Rodriguez was going to be pitching 4+ innings? I think most of us were working under the assumption that they needed to keep his innings down this season because he can't just go immediately from where he was to 300 innings. So why is it a concern that he can't get out of the 4th inning if the reasonable plan was to have him make essentially 3-inning starts and be piggybacked? This number was brought up. Eno Saris, who is now with The Athletic, it worked at Fangraphs forever, was he with the Astros? He was with a team at some point. I don't remember which team he worked with. But he brought up that the stuff from Grayson Rodriguez does not suggest that he was actually struggling. That his stuff plus, which again is a number that I have to plead an amount of ignorance to, understanding, was...
These nerds are ruining the game.
This was what he said. This spring, Grayson Rodriguez had basically the same stuff plus number as Sandy Alcantara and better than Hunter Green. That the stuff, the actual pitches he's throwing, are not a problem. The results, again, which can it just be bad luck? Can it be that you made the right pitch and just got a bad result?
Innings did he pitch?
18? Off the top of my head, I don't know what the number is, but I can look it up.
Didn't he pitch, didn't he pitch 18 innings in spring?
That number sounds right. I'm trying to find it right now. I'm trying to.
I looked at it the other
He
day.
had 15 1/3.
Okay, I looked at it the other day. Okay, 15 1/3.
To the point.
It's pretty hard to make a judgment on it. It's kind of like me making a judgment on a kid who plays 12 holes.
If your argument is we want Grayson Rodriguez to stretch out longer, now a guy who's going to be innings limited to begin with is pitching more innings in the minors to start the season.
You would suspect.
I mean, if that's what the problem is, if the problem is we need to stretch him out further,
then he's got to pitch 6 innings.
Correct.
Right.
So now
they go give us 80 pitches or 60.
A guy that was already innings limited is now going to be further limited whenever he gets here, based on the fact that more of those innings
will be in the minors.
Okay,
I get that too. Like, you're going to have a number on him this year, right? Hey, you can only throw 100 innings.
Correct.
And whatever, and we don't care if it's 30 and 70 or 20 and 80. You can only throw 100 innings. Your argument would be, why would you use any of those in the minor leagues?
I'm torn. Admittedly, I don't feel strongly about this one way or the other, right? Like, I think it's a difficult spot to be in. If they were if he comes up, if they were using the 5th spot on someone who wasn't a qualified Major League Baseball pitcher, I would lose my mind over this.
Okay.
They're not doing that.
But you also have to remember the innings number is a little bit he can't pitch 100 innings if every time he pitches he gets shelled and gives up 6 runs in 3 innings and they pull him. He'll never get to 100 innings. So in some ways it does have something to do with his potential quality at the big league level. I mean, at the minor league level, I don't even know if I care what he does. I mean, you want him to get people out. But when he comes up to the big leagues, if he makes 12 starts, let's pretend he pitches 30 innings in the minors. Let's pretend he pitches 30 innings in the minors, and Memorial Day they call him up. And he has the potential, I don't even know if the math works on this, he has the potential for 18 starts at the major league level.
Mm-hmm.
All of June, all of July, all of August, all of September, 4 starts, 5 starts. Yeah, 18 starts. If in his first 10 starts, he only registers 40 innings,
I think the idea would be if the first one's 3 innings and it works well, then the third one could be 4 innings.
I'm thinking of it the other way. I'm thinking of it. I know what you're doing, which is fine. I'm thinking of it the other way. If he makes 12 starts and his ERA is 5.91, which again, this may be stupid for me to even say. The kid might come in here and it might be 3.5.
Right.
But if
he gets shelled, but again, then
my point being, if he gets shelled, the innings pitched will be commensurate with that. That they're not going to leave him in for 6 innings to give up 14
hits. Rocked. Yes, correct.
Right.
That's true.
So it to me, it does kind of come back to what is his expected quality of performance. Like, if you think he's going to come up and pitch great for 3 innings, and this will go back to your point. If he's going to come up and pitch great for 3 innings, why wouldn't you just have him come up and pitch great for 3 innings?
That's sort of the question,
What's
right?
the difference between him doing that and pitching 5 great innings in Norfolk? My opinion to that would be he will get far more out of coming up here. Everything about the Major League experience. Forget the girls and the per diem and the buffet.
Are those things? Do they do those things?
No, you get those things.
Oh, wow.
Mostly girls. But forget all that. I'm talking about the quality of his performance. If you think he can come up and work into the 4th inning and give up an earned run or 2 and 4 hits and strike out 6 and walk 1, why wouldn't you do that instead of let him do that at Norfolk? What's he accomplishing at Norfolk? Now, the flip side to that is, and I equate all of this right to golf. Like everything. My wife drives her crazy. Everything's equated to golf. This is not that dissimilar to what college golfers go through when they think they're ready to go play on the PGA Tour. You can go play a college golf tournament and shoot 10 under par for 4 rounds at this golf course, and you can finish in the top 5 of college golfers. But if you shoot 10 under on the PGA Tour, you're going to finish tied for 57th. You're not going to get anything out of it because the players are better. And so it really does come down to what you expect him to do. In my opinion, this is all about, do you think he's got the stuff? Is he ready to pitch in the major leagues? And if you don't want him to pitch 7 innings, no problem. If you say to him, you're going to pitch 20 times this year and in the big leagues, and when you get to 70 innings, you're done. Okay, maybe he throws 10 starts of 7 innings and you shut him down. But you got 10 great starts out of him. Like, I don't understand what you think you're accomplishing by sending him to the minors unless you think in your heart he isn't ready to get major league hitters out. And if you do, well, that's your acumen. You've decided that. But if you think he can get people out, why wouldn't you just have him get people out here? Even if it's 3 innings.
And that's again where somebody is going to bring in the argument that, well, this is proof that it's just service time manipulation again, which again bit them in the ass a year ago when they say they would have had Adley on the team anyway. Their injury could have worked it out for them that they would have bought the year back. Instead, because he got Rookie of the Year votes, he ended up getting his year of service time, and the Orioles couldn't buy it. But if they are doing the math and saying, well,
you know what I think about the service time.
Well, we agree about that. But if what they're saying is we think we can send out a good 5th pitcher, we can make the argument that he doesn't really, he's not ready to start every 5th day and go 5 innings. Maybe we just...
But you're saying that based on what?
What?
I know what it's a rhetorical question. You're saying that because he pitched against the Cardinals and they tagged him for 5 runs and 2 1/3, and he couldn't get anybody out. What do you? I just think when the games begin tomorrow and it's real baseball, that's the only spring training to me is just like preseason football, except more people probably go and pay attention because it's their vacation and they're in Florida and Arizona. But spring training baseball is a nothing burger to me. I mean, maybe baseball people look at it differently, but it's a nothing burger to me.
I hear you. I hear you.
Wall Street Window on YouTube is pretty fired up about the Grayson thing. He thinks he has his own would you rather. Would you rather start Wells or Rodriguez? And right now he says Wells because this is about winning, not babying people who think they're entitled to a spot. And he talks about, if you can't get through a lineup twice, why would you have him up?
But he can't get through a lineup twice in what? Can't get through a lineup 2 times because he's going to give up 6 runs? again, I would say to people like this, like, what are you basing that on?
And by the way, I already
yet.
made the statement. The statement is
he's got real fielders behind him.
I didn't expect him to be pitching 6 innings to start the season. I think it would be reckless for them to have Grayson Rodriguez making 6-inning starts because then you're going to have to shut him down at some point. Like, you can't ramp from 100 innings to 300 innings. It doesn't work that way.
What happened, by the way, to the old days where you would bring him in right now and let him pitch out of the bullpen for
I wouldn't.
I
wouldn't do that either. For the record, I wouldn't do that just because it's such a different process.
I get it.
That I just don't think it doesn't value anything. But again, going back to
it didn't bother Jim Palmer.
You're going to have to limit his innings anyway. You're going to have to. 3 innings is what I expected, and Tyler Wells can be his piggyback. And if it isn't working with Grayson Rodriguez, then Tyler Wells just becomes the starter.
I just think
that
anyone who makes an assessment on this guy or any player based solely on spring training, to me, it's dumb. Those games don't matter. And you're not always operating with your full defensive team behind you. You're not always operating under the guise of every at-bat and every ground ball matters and every fly ball matters and every pitch matters. I just don't understand how you value preseason baseball, spring training baseball.
I hear you.
I just don't get that.
I hear you.
Now, if you bring him up and he pitches –
well, and by the way, I
starts.
think that's why someone like Saris would say that the stuff matters more than the results in spring training. That are you making
who's he
the
getting
pitches?
out too?
Well, they have measurements. They literally have like a rating for who it is that you're
these people
facing
drive
on
me
top
insane.
of everything else. All right, what do you got to go here in a minute?
I don't know why. What do you got going on?
Well, we have Mark Feinsand from MLB.com joining us in a minute. I want to play Would You Rather Wednesday, so if you got to go,
no, I'll stay. I mean,
how long are you staying?
What's her name?
I don't remember.
It's Evan.
Evan
is her name, yes.
Evan?
Stop.
Send
I don't
her
know what
some coffee.
You want to go get coffee? She doesn't work here.
Oh.
It's not an option.
You like coffee?
She's here to be your supervisor, essentially.
She doesn't even like coffee.
She's like 18 years old.
Ethan
settle
drinks
down
coffee
over
like
there.
a maniac. He's 15.
You might want.
I know.
You might want to do something
I
about
know.
that, bro.
I know.
You might want to step in at some point.
Ethan drinks coffee.
I'm not here to tell you how to parent.
Crazy.
Because Lord knows I'm struggling. Boy, man, that doesn't seem great.
Well, I'm trying to keep him away from
All right,
booze.
how long are you staying?
I don't know. I'll be here a while.
All right, we'll wait and do Would You Rather Wednesday after we talk to Mark Feinsand. Well, I don't want you to do that because I might have to read it here in a minute.
Okay.
I might have to dive into the book of Joe. Although we've been struggling to find him. I don't know what's going on with that. They sent us the book. Been struggling to track down old Joe Meoli.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening with that. Very uncomfortable. Not as angry as I was when I was once sent Shawn Michaels, I was told was going to be on the show, the legendary Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels.
Sure.
And they sent me a movie that Shawn Michaels was starring in. It's the single worst motion picture I have ever seen in my life. I watched it, and then they canceled the Shawn Michaels interview.
That's how they get you.
I've never been more furious about anything in my entire life. Hour number 1 of today's show has also been brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. By the way, we've lost him now. Between the Joe Madden book and trying to get your sister to go get coffee, we're done.
No, I'm good. I'm here.
We're done. I don't know what is going on
here for the third hour.
here. The third hour. Stick around.
I am a Joe Madden fan, so I may take this. I'll bring it back.
I can't. I don't know. I might need to read that.
Just get another one.
Get another one.
Read? You went to Perry Hall.
I
the only thing you read was the bathroom wall.
I have Mrs. Clark read it to me at night.
Oh, by the way.
What?
Have you seen or heard of that show Blackbird on Apple Plus?
I have not.
Oh,
which one is Blackbird?
My gosh.
Which one is that?
Remember the guy that was Richard Jewell?
Yeah, absolutely.
That guy,
Paul Walter Hauser. Yes.
He's a convict.
Okay.
And the new heartthrob that all the girls are after
is not him.
No.
Taron Egerton?
Yeah,
you know what? I have heard about this. I need to watch this show. I need to watch it. Well,
you better just get 6 hours and,
hang on.
and be prepared to sit there.
As you'll learn when we get to Would You Rather Wednesday, I've been catching up on Succession because this is the final season that's airing right now, and I want to be involved in the conversation. I'm about midway through season 2.
I have not seen it at all.
Well, that's going to be very uncomfortable when we get to Would You Rather Wednesday.
Give me the 10-second.
It is an awful. It's loosely based on the Murdochs, but only loosely.
Okay.
It's an awful family. I mean, like just the greediest humans that you'll ever know.
Okay.
That they're all terrible people, and they're all competitive with each other. They're all trying to take the company away from their father.
Gotcha.
Their father's garbage. Like, it's just there's no one to root for at all in this show. They're all wretched. Every single one of them is just a wretched person, and you can't stop it's a train wreck. You can't stop looking at it. It's not fun, I wouldn't say.
What's it on?
But it's a damn good show. It's HBO Max.
Oh, I don't have that. I'll have to get somebody's password.
I think you can get it through Amazon now. I think you can. I think that might be.
Well, Blackbird, I started watching Blackbird at 9 at night.
But be honest, you only have Apple TV Plus because you found out about Ted Lasso 3 years after everybody else did. And
But I watched Blackbird. I went to bed at like 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, okay, I saw the whole thing. I'm good.
All right, fair enough. We'll get to Would You Rather Wednesday, but here at the top of the hour, we are joined by a man who is a longtime baseball writer with MLB.com. And interestingly enough, he had just written about Grayson Rodriguez, and now here we are kind of debating the situation with Grayson Rodriguez. Mark Feinsand from MLB.com, MLB Network, is with us here on GCR. Mark, it's Glenn and Drew in Baltimore. It's great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Yeah, my pleasure. How you guys doing?
Everything is good. Mark, as you'd imagine, there's a little bit of a different context. And like we first asked you to come on to just talk about your story, the context has changed a bit for us because there's some controversy in Baltimore about Grayson Rodriguez not being on the opening day roster. You wrote about some of the struggles he was working his way through. Were you surprised to find out that the Orioles were not going to have Grayson Rodriguez start this season? Or based on what you had seen, did you find yourself saying, that actually kind of feels about right?
Yeah, I think when I got to Orioles camp, he had certainly looked good in his first couple outings, and then not so much in the last 3. So, he's still a young guy. The Orioles are going to certainly take their time in making sure that somebody's ready, because I don't think you want to bring somebody up, have them get knocked around, have to send them back down. As much of a hit as it might be to his ego and his confidence to not make the team out of camp, coming up, getting rocked in your first 2 or 3 starts and having to go back down to AAA is probably even worse. So, if this was a team that had its sights on the division, and felt like it was a favorite to win the division, maybe they feel like there's enough else around him to let him go through those struggles. But, this is a team that took a big step forward last year, and they're looking to take another step forward this year. And I think they probably felt for his development, let him go back down to AAA, get some of that confidence back after going through a couple of rough starts to end the spring. And, I would imagine we will see Grayson Rodriguez in the big leagues at some point this season.
Mark, let me phrase this. You wrote about it, and it's something that Mike Elias referenced when he was asked about it, was some of the fourth-inning struggles. Given that Grayson Rodriguez has never pitched more than 100 innings, no one thought that Grayson Rodriguez was going to be pitching 300 innings this season. And I think most of us had believed this was probably going to be a piggyback situation to start the season where you'd be, making 3-inning starts. On the flip side, if what you're trying to do is have him work deeper into games, you're now talking about you wanting to pitch 5-6 innings per start in the minor leagues, and if there's only a limited number of innings for the entire year, that seems troublesome to me that so many would be in the minors. And I think this is a complicated, because I think everything you said is true, but would it make just as much sense maybe for him to be making 3-inning starts right now with a piggyback and see if he can build up to working through those issues in the 4th inning and beyond?
Yeah, working at those issues in the big leagues is tough because, in AAA, as much as they want to win every time they take the field, the games don't matter, right? Ultimately, it's a development part for the team. If they lose games of AAA, so be it. At the big leagues, there's a lot more at stake in each one of these games. And putting a guy out there with the expectation that he's only going to throw 3 innings, that's tough on a pitching staff. There are other games where a starter that you expect to go 5 or 6 innings gets knocked out in the second, and your bullpen's wearing it. And if Grayson Rodriguez is gone the next day with an expectation of throwing 3 innings, or if he had gone the day before and all of a sudden your guy gets knocked out, that's really taxing on a bullpen and on a pitching staff. So I think it's tough to go into a season with the expectation that, okay, we're going to start this guy every 5 days. He's only going to go 3 innings. It's just not ideal when you're actually trying to compete and win games and get to a postseason. So I'm not totally surprised. Yeah, there will be an inning situation. You figure he can probably throw 130, 140 innings for the year. And maybe in the second half of the season, you can bring up a guy and expect him to go 3 or 4 innings because you're in a race and you think that's going to benefit your team. But when you're at game 1 of 162, I just think that's really tough to do.
Mark, is there any train of thought? I talked to Glenn about this earlier, that you kind of have to deal with pitchers differently than field players when they're first coming up, because field players, hitters are already predisposed to knowing, hey, I'm going to fail 7 out of 10 times or 7.5 out of 10 times, whereas pitchers, that failure meter has to be much higher. They cannot go out there and get rocked 4 or 5 times in their first 6 or 7 starts.
Yeah, I think so. The fact that position players play every day. If you go 0 for 4, you're going to get the at-bat tomorrow. Maybe you get 2 hits tomorrow. Like you said, position players go out there knowing if they fail 7 out of 10 times, they're probably going to be on the All-Star team.
Right.
And with pitchers, it's a much different scenario. You have to wait 4 days in between your starts. It can build up on you mentally. And I think, especially with a young pitcher with as much talent as Grayson Rodriguez has, you don't want to do anything that's going to hurt his confidence, really beat him up. If you're on a bad team, it's a different story. If you're on a team that, if you're a young pitcher on the Oakland A's this year, and they say, we think he's going to benefit from taking his lumps to the big leagues and learning at the big league level, that's fine. I remember talking to an old pitcher, Javier Vasquez, who pitched with the Yankees for a number of years. And he told me there was a year, I think it was his rookie year in Montreal, he went like 4-15 or something like that, and just got knocked around big time. And he said he learned more that year than any other year of his career. It taught him how to deal with failure. It taught him how to, figure out what he had to do and how to make adjustments. And, it helped him grow into the pitcher he became. But that was on an Expos team that wasn't very good, didn't have expectations, and they could sort of afford to let one of their guys go out there and take their lumps. The Orioles are coming off of a surprising 83-win season. They have expectations of, trying to get to the postseason, and so you're not as willing to let a guy go out there and just get knocked around, even if you think it might help him in the long run. This is a team that right now wins and losses are going to matter. And if we get to July and the Orioles are 15 games out of a playoff spot, well, then maybe they bring them up and say, all right, it's time to start, learning at the big league level. But I just think, at this point, when you're just starting the season, it's a tough thing to do because based on what they saw the last 3 starts, he does still have work to do. And, you want the guy coming up to the big leagues and making his debut and starting to pitch with some confidence. And coming off those last 3 outings, it's hard to imagine, giving up 14 runs in 10 or 11 innings, that he's going to go out there right now feeling super confident.
Mark Feinsand, MLB Network, MLB.com, with us here on GCR. Mark, obviously this is all in the shadow of the Orioles' reputation. And, our friend Jon Meoli wrote about it for the Baltimore Banner today. Is it unfair for Orioles fans or for analysts to say, look, you can tell me that this is not about trying to manipulate service time all you want, but everything about the way that you have operated suggests that's exactly what you would attempt to do, so we're kind of having a hard time believing you. Like, how do we handle that side of the conversation?
If Rodriguez had pitched really well the whole spring and came out of the spring with a 2.5 ERA and had gone, gotten up to 5-6 innings and looked like he was making strides in the right direction, then I think that's a fair comment to make, especially given the history. But having watched those starts, I wouldn't have put him in the big league roster either. And, you're seeing more teams taking those chances of letting guys go on the opening day roster, without experience and not doing the service time manipulation, because now there are incentives for them to do so. And, I think Adley would have been on the opening day roster last year had he not been hurt. And so had that happened, and obviously he got hurt, so it was a non-issue. Had that happened, that would have changed the way that people viewed this situation. Said, well, they did take Adley on the opening day roster last year, rather than waiting those 3 weeks to get that extra year of service time, for them. But it's just, if you look at it straight from a baseball standpoint, it's hard to argue right now the way that Tyler Wells pitched for this, during the spring, and the way Rodriguez pitched in 3 of his 5 starts, that Rodriguez was the better option right now.
Mark, what's their ceiling for this year, the Orioles, in your mind?
That's tough to say. I've been wrestling with that as I've been trying to do my season predictions. And, I loved what I saw with them last year. I was really hoping that they would go out and spend a little more money this offseason. I think that initially might have been the plan. I remember talking to Mike Elias at the GM meetings, and he seemed optimistic that, that he was going to be able to play in the free agent market. I think a combination of things. Number one, the free agent market went crazy.
I don't know what happened to Mark. We'll see if we can't get him back right there. Mark Feinsand from MLB Network, MLB.com, with us here on GCR. Of course, we'll also link up the story he wrote about Grayson Rodriguez, some of the struggles that he was going through on our Twitter account, @GlennClarkRadio, here in a minute. Today's show is also brought to you by the print issue of Press Box. Speaking of the Orioles, Gunnar Henderson is on the cover of this print issue. Only available for another couple of weeks at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. Gunnar Henderson on the cover of this print issue of Press Box. Go pick it up right now. All right, we good? Let's bring back Mark Feinsand from MLB Network, MLB.com. Mark,
I'm back.
Yeah, you were just getting ready to say the Orioles are
going to win the World Series. Right, exactly right.
Oh, so you heard me fine. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was saying the one guy I really would have liked to have seen them sign would have been a guy like Nathan Eovaldi, because I think he would have been a good sort of veteran presence in that rotation. He's not a number one for most teams. He would have been a number one in Baltimore, and he would have been able to show some of these young guys sort of how it's done. Even his prices were a little crazy. So I think the Orioles are right there in the position to be as good as they were last year. If things go right, you get a full season of Rutschman, and maybe Kramer takes a step forward, Irvin takes a step forward, and some of these other guys, Gunnar comes up and everything that people are expecting him to be. It's possible they could be in a mix for a wild card spot. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility by any means. I'd be surprised if they took a huge step backwards. So I would see them finishing somewhere in that 500 to 81 to 88 wins, and if they can get up to 87, 88 wins, then they've certainly got a chance. I actually think they're one of the teams that benefits the most from the new schedule,
no doubt,
where they're not going to have to play the Yankees and the Blue Jays and the Rays 19 times apiece. Now it's 12, I think, or 14. That's 15 games that you don't have to play against those teams, and all of a sudden, you're putting the Colorado Rockies and the Pittsburgh Pirates on your schedule instead. Right. So I think that could help them a lot.
I completely agree about that. I want to tie two thoughts together in one question, if I could, Mark. One, when Mike Elias came out a couple weeks ago and said, we're going to be the next Tampa, or John Angelo, sorry, not Mike Elias. John Angelo said we're going to be the next Tampa. I think it struck a lot of us who were like, wait, we thought you were supposed to be the next Astros. Wasn't that why all these guys were here? And obviously Tampa's been very successful. They haven't won a World Series, but they've been regularly competitive. But they've also been profoundly frugal. Like, they have been determinedly frugal and have never moved out of the bottom third of baseball in spending. And that's sort of the part of this that we can't figure out, is the idea of being the next Tampa, that you want to be regularly competitive, not just a short window. You want to extend that window, or are you kind of announcing ahead of time, we're telling you we're never going to be the team. No matter what these guys do, these young players, we're never going to be the team that's going to be boldly spending money. And that comes into context as you bring up not only Eovaldi, but we're sitting here watching, Jimenez yesterday and Carroll and all the Braves signing everyone and wondering, hey, are the Orioles ever going to be the team that's going to step up and say, we've identified Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, whoever it is, as our guys, and we will spend the money even internally to make sure those guys stick around?
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have asked him a follow-up of, do you mean that you plan on being competitive without spending money, or do you mean that you plan on being a player development machine, which is what the Rays have been? And, frankly, what the Astros were when they, hit the scene back in 2015, bringing up homegrown guys like Altuve and Springer and Bregman and all these guys. If Adley and Henderson and these guys are as legitimate as we think they're going to be, and they're going to be big stars, then the Orioles should try to go and do what the Braves are doing, which is don't wait till they get to arbitration. Don't wait till they get to free agency. Sign them now. Lock them up now. And you will, in the long run, make a lot of money off of that, because, if you look at guys like Acuna and Michael Harris and Strider and Austin Riley and all these guys who the Braves locked up, Austin Riley cost $200 million, but if he had gone to free agency in a couple of years, he probably would have cost $300 million. So, I think once they identify that they have the goods in some of these young players, they would certainly be wise to try to lock them up. And that way you don't have to go out and go crazy on the free agent market.
Right.
Now, that said, when you look at some of those teams that built their way back up, the Cubs come to mind with Bryant, Rizzo, and Schwarber and those guys, or the Astros. They built these great cores of players, but then they went out and got that one free agent piece that sort of finished the deal, whether it was John Lester with the Cubs, whether it was Justin Verlander with the Astros. So, maybe coming off the 83-win season, the Orioles didn't feel like, okay, we're right there. Let's go get Jacob deGrom, and we're the favorites. But if you take another step forward this year, then you go out next year and you find, you identify a free agent who you think can be that, that veteran missing piece to come in. It'll be interesting to see if they actually do it or not, because, the biggest difference between the Orioles and the Rays, to me, is Camden Yards. I know there's been a lot of talk about the ballpark lately, but it's still a great ballpark, and fans do come out to that ballpark when the team is good. The Rays, when they're good, people still don't come out to Tropicana Field. So the revenue possibilities are much greater for the Orioles than they are for the Rays in their current situations. And so if the Orioles can be a competitive team again and, have another winning season, revenue should go up, and you would hope that would translate into more spending on the payroll.
We hope as well, Mark. That's what we're hoping for.
They're never going to be the Yankees. They're never going to be the Mets, the Dodgers.
Right. I don't think anybody here.
But they don't have to be.
What you just said is exactly the way that we feel. Like, we totally understand here that that's not the way things are going to go, but it seems like there can be somewhere in between. What you just brought up with, hey, when the Cubs and Astros got there, they were willing to spend. It would be nice to see that the Orioles would definitely be willing to do that, and given all of the circumstances surrounding this franchise at the moment, it's still kind of hard to know that with certainty right now, which is what we're struggling with. At Feinsand on Twitter is how you follow him. He's got a book out called The Franchise. I don't know that it's going to be for anybody in our audience, but if you happen to be someone who cares about the New York Yankees or just really interested in baseball, you can pick that up right now. Mark, really appreciate the time, man.
Having been at Camden Yards a lot for Yankee-Oriole games, I know there are fans in your area.
All right. Mark, hey, really appreciate you taking the time for us. Thank you so much for doing it. We'll be in touch, all right?
You got it, fellas.
Mark Feinsand, MLB Network, MLB.com with us here.
He already wrote a book
GCI.
about Lamar?
Yeah, The Franchise. It's exactly what it's about. It was actually, weirdly, it's about Steve Francis. I don't know why. Right. It seems very niche.
Well, I'm getting it. It's about Jeter. I'm getting it.
Oh, yeah. You love him.
Number 2.
If it was about Derek Lowe, you'd already have 8 copies.
Derek Jeter.
We'd never get you back because you'd just be reading the book.
Number 2.
All right. Quickly.
We should go back up to Yankee Stadium.
And try to get kicked out again?
No.
I really thought we should have gone for the bowl game. I really thought we should have gone for the Maryland game to see if we could get kicked out for 2 different sports at the same stadium.
Right.
I really think. By the way, I also saw a hockey game there once with Luke Jones. You decided you were not interested in that. Oh, that was when your foot was killing you. That was when we were up in New York.
You saw a hockey game where?
At Yankee Stadium.
You did?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
The week of the Super Bowl, a buddy of ours came over and gave me 2 tickets.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I said, "Does anybody want to go?"
Was that the year we had tickets to the commissioner's party and we got
that was
taken from us?
That was every year. That was every year. No, you had a bum foot.
Yeah, I had.
You were no good. You were like, I'm not hobbling around trying to get to the hockey game.
You got me up there to see. You took me up there to see the band.
Lone Bellow.
Whew. That was nice.
It was incredible.
That was a nice night.
They're unbelievable.
Yeah,
they're one of the greatest.
Still around?
They are still around.
Are they?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're excellent.
I'm going to see Bruce next Friday night.
Where's he next Friday? Oh, you're at the arena. Yeah, I was like, he was in D.C. last night.
Yeah, I didn't go. We had a match.
I'm gonna go to the stadium show.
Are you?
And I'm regretting that decision.
Yeah.
Like the amount of money that I had to pay for where we're sitting.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was a.
I've been very unimpressed with the set list so far.
Okay. I'm
not happy.
I think I'm going to another event at the arena next week, but I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about it.
Oh.
I think there might be a super secret event that's happening at the arena that I found out about. And I'm pretty excited about it actually.
Tell me about it.
Is there a quarterback that they're announcing?
No, unfortunately I don't think it's that. I don't know if you care about this or not, Drew. I don't know if this is your thing. I don't know if that's Yes.
Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, exactly right. That's the one that I'm super excited about.
They're going to be there when?
I believe the night before.
Oh.
Yeah, the opening day.
For some sort of
yes,
okay.
Like semi.
Why would Taylor Swift come to Baltimore?
It's big, right? Like it's amazing they've been able to keep it under this secretive for this long. Yeah, believe I'll be there for that. All right, quickly, would you rather Wednesday? Because Jon Meoli is going to join us in a minute. We'll talk more about the Grayson Rodriguez non-traversing.
Is that your new thing now?
What do you want me to tell you? Want me to do more Lamar? You want to go back into that?
Let's talk about the Masters.
You'll be able to talk about that on Fairways and Greens this Sunday.
Am I on for 1 hour?
I believe you're 1 hour this week. And I believe that we're on for 2. It's a very weird week. It's a very weird week. All right, so Would You Rather is brought to you by Birdland Sports. Still time.
Why he ends with "I'll see you in my dreams." It's terrible song to end the show with.
That's his closer?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's terrible.
That is weird. Glad I paid $200 for that.
Well, by then, maybe he'll change.
Maybe.
But he doesn't change the first 6 songs every night.
Get your 2023 World Series Champs T-shirt right now at birdlandsports.com. If you order any of the awesome shirts they have available for you right now at Birdland Sports, like that Grayson throwing gas shirt. Did you wear it today just to try to, because we were going to talk about Grayson?
Well, I did it for the Birdland Sports I read.
Well, I do love
honestly.
that. I do love that.
But yeah, happened to be a big Grayson day.
It is a big Grayson day, yes, that is true. All those shirts are available right now. Birdland Sports, for Birds fans, by Birds fans. Prices much less than the big guys, with more fun in their creativity, and the quality of the shirt remains exactly the same. Go to birdlandsports.com. If you get your order in by the end of the week, I promise you will still have it in time for opening day. I promise you that. Also, I believe we're going to be doing something fun with Birdland Sports on opening day. I'm working on those details right now, but looking forward to next Thursday and that partnership. Somebody who participates.
Who do we play in the home opener?
I believe they play the Indians. I think is the. No.
Who do we play?
They play the Yankees.
Oh, in the home opener.
They're playing the Yankees.
I'm not up to speed. I'm in golf season. I know we're playing the Red Sox tomorrow.
You might want to start thinking about it. You'll have great coverage at drewsmorningdish.com.
Yeah, you got my predictions today.
There you go. If you participate in Would You Rather Wednesday, you can win a T-shirt of your choosing from Birdland Sports.
Nice.
Number 1, would you rather?
Yes.
I am realizing I might have gone too far with this.
Okay.
But would you rather? Lamar Jackson announces today he's changed his mind, and he's just going to accept the original offer from the Ravens. It's all over. Everything's good. It worked out in their favor.
Okay.
Or, out of nowhere, the Texans offer the 2, the 12, the 33, and the 65 for Jackson. So 2 first-rounders, a second-rounder, and a third-rounder.
So I couldn't care less what the money is. So either Lamar's back.
Right. At the price the Ravens wanted.
Yeah, but I don't care about that.
Well, I do think it matters.
Why?
It's because if you think that they shouldn't be paying $250 million in guaranteed money, then you're probably not going to be happy about that scenario.
Oh, I mean, I don't care what they do. No, I mean, I don't care. If they get him, they get him. Like, okay, so Lamar stays, or he goes to the Texans, which would be really hard to watch him play.
Right, because you love those helmets, right? That's all the difference for it.
The 2,
12, 33, 65
this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would do that.
Okay,
I think I would do that.
I'll take Lamar. I think they're still a better team with him than.
I think this has been phrased.
Can we get Teddy Bridgewater or not?
No, you can't. I love Teddy Bridgewater. The way it's been phrased by a few people,
the
way it's been phrased by a few people is exactly how I feel. Like, I would still choose the bird in hand. Like, I would still I would dance the devil I know in this scenario. But if this was the scenario that played out, I would say, okay, they did about as well as they could possibly do.
So I would. That might be the way I would count. I want them to have. I mean, all things being equal, the Ravens are not a better team without Lamar Jackson. There is no doubt about that. But if they had to move him and they got that package of players or picks, I think that's a pretty good take for him.
Yeah, I think that would be about as well as you could do at this point for Lamar. And I would say, okay, specifically because of what the picks are. Like, somebody else, if Washington offered you 2 first-rounders and you weren't getting the number 2 pick in the draft, it wouldn't be the same.
A 12,
right.
33.
Correct.
You're basically getting 3 first-round picks, essentially.
Essentially, yes, correct.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
And I think it'd be really good for morale, though, with the team, just like for the team to see that they worked really hard and they got a deal done with the quarterback that everyone loves. I mean, Marlon Humphrey tweets about it every day, and I think it would be
it is one thing that doesn't get talked about enough. The players that are on this team are living and dying over this. Like, they will be apoplectic if it's not Lamar. Now, again, if they draft Bryce Young, and Bryce Young is a superstar a month from now, they'll be in love with Bryce Young. That's the way that it works.
Right.
Number 2, would you rather the Orioles, to celebrate opening day, announce a new 7-year deal for Adley Rutschman, or they announce a new 10-year deal for Gunnar Henderson, with the total money being essentially the same in either deal?
Oh, Lord, you and your money. I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. Like, just flip a coin. I guess the only thing I would say is we've seen 120 games of Rutschman. We've seen 24 of Henderson or whatever. I probably would say Rutschman just because I have seen enough of. I mean, I've seen enough of Henderson too. and the hair obviously counts for something.
It does count for something. I don't disagree with that. It counts for something.
I would say Rutschman.
We still have it? No, we have. Somebody took the Gunner. Did you take the Gunner Henderson?
Did.
Oh yeah, you took
Ethan's
the Gunner
wearing
Henderson T-shirt.
Ethan's
Well, how's Ethan's hair these days? He might have hair down to his butt too.
Ethan's got a hair issue at Coward Hall because they have a hair code.
Oh, I didn't know they had a hair code.
Ethan's very close to the hair code.
Oh boy,
he's like every other kid.
Have you gotten a note yet? Have you gotten?
No, but he'd get detention if it violates.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh, but they all do the same thing.
Do they measure each day?
They're right on.
Right,
the
they
cusp.
cut right up to it. Yeah,
100%.
I believe that's how my wife said at her all-girls school that she went to. It was that way with like what you were allowed.
Cleavage.
Basically everything else about the she was like you would wear the skirt to the exact like level that you could wear it. That was the way it was.
I saw her in the mall the other day. Things haven't changed.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. God bless her for it. Oh, God bless her. She looks great. What do you got?
Adley, I guess. I mean,
all right,
it's
Adley.
the same thing. I mean,
why do you ask
be
him?
very happy.
Because he's here.
Okay.
It's awkward. His sister came in today.
Poor
We're going to
guy.
embarrass him in
Right.
front of his sister,
Right.
make it seem like he's not part of what we do.
She's a nice young lady.
Now, I really realize what this is. Now I can't do what I normally do. I have to show and beat him
Right.
because she's here, and she would probably report
Are you
me.
older than her?
Yes, yeah. She's 18.
This
And
is
you're what?
22.
22.
I have to pretend like, he's a respected member of the staff here.
Right. He's a
Because
member of the
his
media.
His sister
Right.
is here. Tomorrow we'll go right back to the post-show beatings. That's the way that it'll work.
Right. Beatings will continue until morale improves.
All right, and number 3, would you rather you're hired tomorrow to do PR for Lamar, Ken Francis, and the entire gym,
Oh my God.
or you're hired tomorrow to handle PR for the real-life version of the Roy family from Succession? And again, you don't watch Succession. The comparison was
It
made.
doesn't matter. I'll take Succession.
You'll take Succession.
For sure.
I don't know, dog. I don't know. I don't know,
I do
man.
the
I mean,
entire
this
gym.
home gym
Ah.
thing, it's how on earth did Lamar get intertwined with this huckster?
I mean,
It looks pretty cool.
I don't know.
It looks pretty cool. Are you insane?
It's like a roll-around speaker and like the weights are on it.
Okay, just close your eyes and imagine you saying to yourself this. You know what I haven't had in a while? A girl. and you know what I think I need to do more of
Work out.
to get the girl?
Yeah.
Is to work out. Now,
At the
so
entire
far, I think you make a lot of sense. So what I'm going to do, let me ride over here to the gym. Hey, gym lady, membership woman lady.
We got to get to a guest here.
How much is the membership here? Well, it's $150 a month. Well, shucks, I can get the entire gym for $999. I need a girl.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to buy the gym.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to drive up to Manchester High School.
And
I'm gonna-
easy.
Valley, Manchester Valley.
Manchester
Stop.
Valley. Well, wherever. And I'm going to roll the gym out to the football
and
field.
that'll be impressive. Yes.
And the girls are all going to
You've
run
got an
around
entire
and say,
gym. An entire gym.
hey, you out there working out.
Right.
Is that the entire gym?
Right here on the track at Manchester Valley.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. I don't know. All right. You got to go or
And the dude's totally.
what is your deal? Do you have
I'm
to go?
here.
You're
I'm
here.
I'm
I
just
don't.
hanging out.
I never
I'm
know.
getting paid for 2 hours. Might as well stay.
I never. Well, if I had known that, we didn't have to move the guests around today. If I had
okay.
known that you were just sticking around,
I
we
never
could've-
know what I'm doing.
that's part of the problem.
Well, we have a match today, so I'm very nervous.
Oh, okay. So you think being here is going to help
It's
ease?
helped a little bit.
If you leave here, then you're going to start thinking too much about the match.
Right.
All right. Fair enough. Fair
It's a
enough.
big match today.
All right. Drew Forrester is here. Continue to get me your responses for Would You Rather Wednesday. We'll get them up, or we'll be retweeting them throughout the day. And, of course, somebody will win a T-shirt from birdlandsports.com. I'm very,
Nice.
very behind on breaks, so that's what it is. Today's show also brought to you by PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Baseball season is here.
Bet the Indians. The
Don't do
Guardians.
that. Do not. They don't exist.
The
So
Guardians.
don't bet them. You're all in on them.
I am.
They gave Jimenez a nice chunk of money. You can bet $50 with Maryland's newest sportsbook, Bet Fred, and get up to $1,100 worth of bonus Fred bets, along with other great incentives and promos when you sign up through PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Baseball futures bets, season specials, and player award bets are already live in Maryland. Go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers now for your shot at winning big. And again, you can start betting the games tomorrow. Joining us now, this man I just saw pop up at the Baltimore Banner. Of course, he's been a friend of ours for a long time and has been covering the Orioles. He's been doing his own Substack, so I have to ask a question. I assume that he's still going to be doing the newsletter, maximizing playoff odds, but we actually have to at least make sure that we know what we're talking about. He's our friend Jon Meoli, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Jon, it's Glenn and Drew. It's great to catch up, buddy. Thanks for taking the time, as always.
Very welcome. Yeah, to answer your question, the Banner has purchased the newsletter, so we're in the migration phase right now. I'm going to be doing largely the same work, I think. I hope I don't have, I had to introduce myself there in a pretty weird circumstance, right. and take on something that was kind of unpleasant. But I hope the work is the same. Still get to write about prospects. Still get to do some bigger picture stuff. But it's going to be all be at the Banner now. Yeah.
I love that. I saw your tweet yesterday, but I couldn't quite figure out if you were going to be doing both or like how that was going to work. So I appreciate you clarifying that. That's excellent news. Congratulations, Jon. That's awesome. Very excited for you. Now, yes, to start this off, kind of awkward circumstances. We have been talking throughout the morning about this. You address kind of the elephant in the room, which is even if there is a legitimate argument, as so many people have made about, you've got 5 qualified starters, and Tyler Wells deserves the opportunity to be in the rotation, and you shouldn't just force someone in that struggled. There is still a backdrop to all of this, which is I'm not sure that you've earned the benefit of the doubt for us to be certain that it's not also in some way, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, still a little bit about service time manipulation.
Yeah, and that's and that's kind of the unfortunate reality that a lot of things happen with the Orioles at this point. Grayson Rodriguez, by all accounts, was not one of the 5 best starters in camp, and if he was, he would have been on the team, and they would have been able to say, look, we plan on having this guy on the team, service time, future implications be damned, but they put it kind of in his hands, and for one reason or another, Grayson Rodriguez wasn't able to take that chance. So the Orioles kind of tried to absolve themselves of the blame of that, but that's not really the full story. And I think, what I wanted to do, I'm not going to spend a lot of time as some voice of Orioles resistance Twitter, but there's a lot of things that happen on regarding this team that need to be called for what they are. They spend a lot of time and energy moving prospects through the minor leagues quickly to challenge them, and then they don't give them the final challenge of being in the big leagues in a manner that their development would require. They do this at times when it's beneficial to the Orioles from a contractual standpoint, and this keeps happening. They have the cover of Grayson Rodriguez's performance for this particular case. I don't know if that justifies what they did, but to say that none of these other exigent circumstances have anything to do with it would be pretty disingenuous to just ignore.
Jon, to the point I brought up, if the issue is the 4th inning, right, because the stuff, and Saras brought this up about his stuff plus, the stuff seems to be fine, but if the issue is the 4th inning, and you weren't going to have him pitch 300 innings this year anyway, is it really more valuable to the Orioles for a guy that's going to be limited innings-wise to be pitching 6 innings in the minor leagues versus pitching 3 innings and being piggybacked to start the season in the major leagues?
I think there is, I think there is a benefit to having him pitch deeper into games like that. I mean, you have to remember, this is a guy who in 2021, I think, pitched past the 5th inning one time, and that was because he'd thrown 50 pitches in that game, and they were like, well, you can go get a couple more outs. But 2021, coming out of the pandemic, he was 5 and dive every single time. He was done. Last year, they really didn't start stretching him into that 70, 80 pitch range until May, and that was when he got hurt. So they haven't really given him, the opportunity to learn how to get, hitters out a 3rd time, some cases even a 2nd time. And when we talk about finishing innings in spring training, I mean, there are some of those innings he would have been able to finish if he wasn't on a pitch count limit and they didn't pull him in the middle of the innings, and then we might be having a different conversation. So I think that the piggyback solution probably would have been a little overly complicated just based on early season roster stuff. Nobody else is built up. This bullpen might be kind of an issue, so I don't know if planning on piggybacks is going to be the best thing to do, but he could work through the things they're going to be having him work on in Norfolk in the big leagues, and I think that's kind of where I fall on that.
Jon, I'm not sure what your assessment is of the win total for the year. But let's just use what happened last year as an example, the 83 win mark or whatever. If they don't have a good year, what would it be? Like if you were going to finish that sentence, if September rolls around and the Orioles are a 72-win team, what would be the biggest factor in your mind?
I think there would be two big factors in that. I think, like I just mentioned, I think that last year's outperformance was driven in large part by the bullpen being pretty deep and pretty reliable. I don't know, sitting here in March, that that's going to be the case right now. I don't know if the solid starts that they got last year are going to lead to, wins, to be perfectly honest. If a starter gives off a lead in the fifth inning, there's a lot of ground to cover before you get to Felix Bautista, and I'm not sure who's going to be doing that at this point. I think that's going to be a factor. And honestly, when these players that we're all expecting to come up from Norfolk and hopefully help get to the majors, and what kind of opportunity they get when they're here is going to be defining of that as well. There's a world where this team doesn't really start well, and they could say, all right, Grayson, DL Hall, Jordan Westberg, let's go. Let's do this. Let's turn this around right now. And there's a world where that doesn't happen until July. So if this doesn't, if this season doesn't go to the expectations that a lot of fans have, I think those two things are probably going to be the reason why.
It's interesting you bring that up. Jon Meoli, now with the Baltimore Banner, is with us here on GCR. It's interesting you bring that up, John, because I think the obvious statement is, well, the Orioles season will be determined by what Adley Rutschman does in Season 2, what Gunnar Henderson does in his first full season, if Grayson Rodriguez gets here. But I've thought through I think the story of this season is so much more about, Austin Hayes and Jorge Mateo and the guys that, even Cedric Mullins to some extent because of his age, the guys that we don't know with certainty.
You know what the other two dudes are going to do? They're going to rake.
Well, we hope.
Right.
But, there's still a bunch of guys that we don't even know what they're going to do this year, and we don't really know what their role is long-term in Baltimore. We don't know if they're actually part of a long-term solution or if they're guys who you're going to have to make way for the Colton Cowsers of the world and, some of the guys that you brought up, Jordan Westberg. So much of this season to me is really about that secondary group of guys, the guys that have been here, that have had moments, but we're still just not really sure if they're guys that you're committing real money to and are announcing as definitive parts of this, or if they're ultimately the guys that were the placeholders until the real guys got here.
Yeah, and I think there's a version of this season where it's the latter, and we're talking about guys who are still holding a spot, but they perform well. All of them, as you mentioned, have done it before and have the capability to do it again. I think Cedric Mullins, honestly has the potential to be closer to the guy he was in 2021 than the guy he was last year. This year, it's kind of just flying under the radar. Someone like Ryan Mountcastle, the expectation is that his performance will align with the expected stats from last year. And then you're talking about something really good. Austin Hayes made some really significant adjustments to the swing that the hitting staff down there in Sarasota was really excited about and bore out in spring training. That was, going to be a net positive for him. So there's opportunities, for those guys. And honestly, the guys they brought in free agency and in trades and stuff, they are the ones who are going to supply the floor for this team. Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, those guys are ceiling raisers. They can probably make a team that's decent, good. That's what we saw last year. But it's really going to be about, the floor raisers, how they raise the floor, where those guys set the floor. If they're going to have a season where they each have, 1 or 2 good months and 4 terrible months, then this team's going to be inconsistent. If they are the best versions of themselves for most of the season, then this is going to be a pretty good team. But it's really, I think I kind of agree that it comes down to those guys, and I put the bullpen in that same category.
John, anything new on the ownership front at all you're hearing? Obviously this continues to be an ongoing story, not just with the lease, but more with the family and the whole strife with the lawsuit that appears to now be put under the, put on the back burner. But anything new on that at all?
Not that I've heard. Nothing that hasn't been reported by all the various outlets around here. It seems like getting the lease done is the first priority. Westmore was down at spring training when I was, and they were talking about, the expectations that that's going to be done soon. I think that's going to be important, and I think that otherwise you're just in a kind of a waiting game to see what happens with the Masson decision, what happens with all these types of, second degree variables that are going to influence the Orioles ownership situation and how this particular group is able to go forward. All that stuff kind of depends on checking those big picture boxes to make sure that everything is settled there so we can kind of figure out what's going on next.
It feels like that it's not necessarily a fait accompli anymore, that when Peter is gone, that the two boys are just going to get rid of the team. Like I feel like 4 or 5 years ago, and that was always just sort of like it's a done deal. As soon as Peter passes away, the boys are going to be out of it, and it's over with. And I don't know that it feels like that anymore.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting in the Martin Luther King Day press conference and all the all the hubbub that came around it. He came out and said that they own 70% of the team. When you factor in, that means 30% of minority owners in the partnership group. There's a pretty significant area in those percentages for a stake to be sold in the Angelos family to maintain control, but also bring a significant capital injection into this organization. I know that the San Diego Padres, for example, their owner is incredibly wealthy and doesn't mind spending money, but he also knows what his seed investment in the team was and what he has invested in it. And every time the franchise valuation goes up, he sells a chunk of it to finance the things that we're seeing them do on the baseball field. Because,
Right.
It's one thing to have theoretical value, and it's another thing to turn that value into money that you can spend on your baseball team. So I think that's a pretty reasonable, theory to have. If the Orioles did that, it might change things in a pretty meaningful way, because that's the type of thing that it seems like needs to happen based on the current revenue streams and how they want to spend them. That if there's going to be meaningful investment on the field, it might need to come from that kind of capital injection, because they clearly are spending what they feel comfortable doing on the major league team now, and the rest of the revenues are otherwise accounted for, I suppose.
And John, I'll wrap with it. Sort of add to that, I keep saying, you can say whatever you want about spending in free agency down the road. There's nothing that will invigorate this fan base more than spending money on Adley Rutschman, than doing
or Lamar.
Well, that would help too. Yeah, that would be good.
Sign Lamar.
Like spending money on your own guy and saying, look, stop listening to people say, well, he's just going to be a Yankee in 4 years anyway. Like, stop that. We're telling you, we are committed. This guy is ours, the way that, literally every other baseball team is doing, and yet the Orioles have still never done. And I would think that it's sort of the same thing. If we're holding our breath that that's going to come now, to your point, there probably needs to be some sort of injection to get it. And it feels like there's maybe a clock ticking, particularly with Adley, because we know there's really likely, because of the position he plays, only going to be one time, and his age, one time that he can get mega money. And so the closer he gets to free agency, it feels like the more difficult it would be to do something like this.
I agree with that. I think that his situation is a unique one. He got the largest signing bonus anyone's ever gotten at the time of his signing in the draft. So, and he knows what his value is both to this team and to the organization. I would be very, very fascinated to see if there are negotiations going on, what those look like. Everything that we know about the Orioles, and to a lesser extent how members of this front office operated in Houston, given some of the recent books about them. They like to keep these kind of contract extensions pretty low and pretty team friendly. And my gut feeling is there's probably a pretty wide gap between what the Orioles want to give Adley Rutschman on a long-term extension and what Adley Rutschman would accept. But I do think that, to your point, that type of move, that kind of declaration that this isn't all just going to be transient, this isn't all going to be, Tampa Bay Rays roster churn and you get used to a guy until he's expensive and then we trade for another guy who's less expensive, that this isn't going to be that. It would take an Adley Rutschman type extension to kind of assuage those concerns.
Well, at least they didn't come out and say we're going to be the next Tampa or anything like that, because that would really make you wonder if they're not going to hold on to their guys. At Jon Meoli on Twitter, of course, and now, so it's not just coverage of the Baltimore Banner, but maximizing playoff odds continues with the Baltimore Banner.
I don't know. I believe they have a sports newsletter. It's called The Point. They launched it on Monday. I think the articles are going to go out in that.
Okay.
I don't know if that silly name that I landed on, because I had to name it something a couple years ago, is going to live on. If it doesn't, rest in peace. But what I've been, what our negotiations and my own focus was on was that, the work got to stay the same. So I think that's and they agreed to that. And I think the rest of the details are kind of still getting ironed out.
No doubt. Brother, happy for you. Congratulations. Look forward to chatting more this season. Thanks for taking the time for us this morning.
All right. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Jon Meoli with us in the Baltimore Banner here on GCR. All right, when we come back in, I do want to talk a little. I'll get your pick for not the Masters, the Final Four this weekend. I'm not sure if you heard. They're going to do that. The basketball. It's an event they're going to do this weekend. And I don't think it's going to be.
I bet Ryan Odom going to VCU.
And I want to talk about some rumors that are floating around about the college basketball coaching movement.
Zach Edey's transferring.
That's right. There is that.
Is he?
Well,
no.
Boy, there was another.
That guy's a stiff, by the way.
We'll talk a little bit about college basketball next, including
Go Terps.
Maybe Ryan Odom to VCU, which is what I was going to tease, and Drew, because he's a radio professional,
because I follow sports.
Stepped right on.
I do follow sports. I got the Terps this weekend.
Glenn Clark Radio.
Lady Terps are going all the way.
No.
Are you a diehard O's fan looking for the perfect way to show your team spirit? Look no further than Birdland Sports. Birdland Sports is a small business run by fans for fans. They offer a wide variety of unofficial O's merchandise, from the Birds Are Coming tees to player cartoon shirts and more. And the best part? Their prices are more affordable than the big guys. So head to birdlandsports.com and grab your gear today. Show your support for the Birds with Birdland Sports.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Orioles phenom Gunnar Henderson, breaking down how he was able to become the top prospect in baseball at such a young age and what could be next in his first full MLB season. Also inside, we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's college programs across the state, and Bo Smoka breaks down another year of wide receiver issues for the Ravens. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Have you experienced hardship due to COVID-19? CCBC has great news for you. We have funding available for short-term career programs like project management starting this March. Gain valuable skills to advance your career and get back on track. With CCBC's project management program, you'll learn how to effectively plan, organize, and execute projects. This is your chance to make a positive change in life. Contact us at 443-840-2222 or online ccbcmd.edu for more information. CCBC Project Management. Your new career starts now with funding available. 443-840-2222 or ccbcmd.edu.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at over $60,000 and over $64,000 for lateral officers, with $10,000 signing bonuses available. Plus, cadets start at over $32,000. Great benefits are available like medical, dental, and vision insurance, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days per calendar year with no limit, career advancement to more than 20 specialized units, and more, with further incentives for military service members and veterans. A passion for service, a career for life with the Baltimore County Police Department. Find out more at joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. Must be a United States citizen, have a valid driver's license, and a high school diploma or GED equivalent.
If you miss anything on the show, don't forget that you can watch full episodes at youtube.com/pressboxonline, and you can download podcasts on Apple, iTunes, Amazon, and Grindr. Wait, did I say Grindr? I don't think that you would find it on Grindr. Not that I know it's on Grindr or anything, I swear. On second thought, you know what? I don't care what you think. Here's Glenn.
Yes, go ahead.
Who was that?
That was Paul. It was Paul.
What on earth?
What?
Paul's on Grindr?
Well, I don't know. He said.
Sounded like he said that.
Yeah, he said he didn't know if you could
How's
find
he
it
doing,
on
by the way,
Grindr.
that goof?
Paul?
Yeah.
What are you fighting with Paul? You can hear him on the bat around every Saturday
What's Paul
morning.
doing?
I think he's doing fine.
Poor Paul. So here's what's going to happen on Ted Lasso. Here's my official prediction.
Okay. By the way, this I think has to involve some amount of spoilers if you haven't watched the first 2 episodes of season 3 yet.
Okay.
Like, just be prepared. Come back in 5 minutes.
Okay. Please.
We got to take another commercial break.
They're going to play West Ham at some point in a pivotal sort of championship game, right?
Uh-huh.
Rupert owns West Ham. AF Richmond or AE Richmond or whatever they're called. AFC Richmond. They're going to play in the front. Rupert is going to get a hold of Zava before the game and offer him money to throw the game.
Oh, okay.
Zava would never do that.
This is my
a man that had the integrity to sign with AFC Richmond.
Yeah, exactly.
As he was about to hold a press conference with.
How's $1 million sound for AFC Richmond to not win this weekend? Zava says, deal.
Mm-hmm.
Zava has a contentious relationship in episodes 3 through 12 with Ted. Sort of like the Jamie Tart relationship.
Sure.
Zava thinks he's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a great player. You're a nothing.
Right.
Well,
and so he's predisposed to when Rupert says, you want to stick it up his rear end.
Right.
Here's how we do it.
Right. So I don't.
And there's a penalty kick with 4 minutes left in the game. And Zava
something
takes
something that Ted said to Zava convinces him that he should actually not throw the game.
Correct.
And
because Ted's going to find out that he's going to throw the game, and he's not going to do anything about it because he's Ted.
And Zava's going to stand there, and Rupert's going to be looking at him, and Zava's going to look up into the stands, and Rupert's going to look at Zava, and Zava's going to look at the stands, and Zava's going to stand there, and this is it. Do I sky it over the bar,
right,
or do I make it?
Because Jamie Tart is unhappy now, so he's going to transfer out, right?
Why do you think Jamie Tart's unhappy?
Jamie
Tart was
unhappy.
He was hugging Roy Kent. I mean, geez, I don't.
He wasn't thrilled that Zava was.
And Zava makes it, and gives up the $1 million.
So I have been convinced all season. Oh God, this is what we're doing. I have been.
This is better than talking about Grayson Rodriguez.
By the way, do you know someone who's talked to God? Like, you're over there?
Yeah.
Does the priest at your church,
Father Jeff,
actually talk to God?
Of course.
Can you get him in touch with Griffin?
Sure.
Lamar Jackson tweeted last week, I want what God wants from me, and we're trying to figure out what God wants for Lamar Jackson.
God wants him to be happy.
Well, okay, you're saying that, but do you talk to God, or does the priest talk to God?
Everybody talks to God. You can talk to God anytime you want.
I have not.
Sure
I have not heard from God. I have not heard from him.
You're sitting right where you are now because God wants you to be there.
That might be true, but I would just like to have.
It is true.
That I would like for the priest, the person that's talked to God.
Well, you're a priest.
I am. I was just talking about it the other day. I am a Dudist priest. I think it's still good. I'm not sure.
You can talk to God anytime you want.
All right. Well, we'll get to the bottom of this another day then.
Okay.
I have always believed that ultimately that the ultimate Ted story is for the story to really be Nate's redemption. That he's so selfless that somehow the end of the season is actually Nate realizing how much he's screwed up and Nate realizing that he needs to atone for his sins, if you will, and how that actually plays out, because I think it go one of two ways. I think it could easily be that Ted finds out that Zava is going to
plant
is something like that, and then Ted ultimately ends up, or that Zava's cheating somehow, something like that, and Ted is so selfless that he, sits Zava for the championship or something like that, and Nate realizes what Ted's doing, and something along.
We all know something weird's going to happen.
Correct.
And Zava isn't there to just be. Zava is going to play an integral role in this thing.
Sure. I think that ultimately this season ends with Nate coming back to Richmond to replace Ted. That's how this all.
Okay, but there is no more season after
There's a correct. That's what I'm saying. But
right.
It ends that's how it's no longer.
If we
a story
don't get
about
to
Ted.
see Roy Kent with his shirt off at least once,
well, that's and I'm with you on that.
I'm
with you. I'm with you on
done.
that. All right, quickly. By the way, today's show is also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer.
Mention Ryan Odom.
That's what. Buy at Toyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Ryan Odom, really weird. Last night, Dick Hoops Weiss, who was about as plugged in as it gets, said it was done. Today, everybody else is like, well, it's not actually done. But Mike Rhodes has left VCU for Penn State, and now
Where'd the Penn State coach go?
He went to Notre Dame.
Okay.
Micah Shrewsbury.
Oh, right, because of Bray.
Yes.
Right, okay.
And now the belief, Jeff
And
Jeff Goodman.
Willard's going to Utah State?
I don't think it's going to work that way. Jeff Goodman reported it this way this morning. VCU coach Mike Rhodes is currently deep in negotiations with Penn State.
Okay.
If Rhodes does take the job, the front runner for the VCU job will be Ryan Odom.
So, this is a stupid question. The Utah State job, the VCU job is better than the Utah State job?
That's one of the things that it's largely a lateral move. It's largely a lateral move.
No disrespect, but...
So this comes down to, I think, one core. Remember, Feinstein brought up last week that George Mason should go all in for Ryan Odom. And I said to Feinstein last week, I was like, there's no world in which Mason is a better job than Utah State.
Nor VCU.
I think you can at least make the argument for VCU because they have a more recent Final Four trip, because they have a more recent...
Well, but that was 15 years ago.
Well, Mason's was 15 years ago.
Right.
VCU's was like 10 years ago.
Right.
Yes, correct. I think there's a bigger argument for they can be the kings of that conference and could even maybe bat their eyes towards the Big East. Like, boy, you guys might not want one more team, huh? Maybe one more,
right,
and have that argument for them. But it is definitely, at the moment, a lateral move. The difference being, and the point that Feinstein was trying to make about Mason, is we also all know the affinity that Ryan Odom has for this area.
Well, let's get him. I mean, it'd be great if we could get him positioned here where he could take over for Willard. We could win some games.
Right. I'm trying to figure out where the Willard angst. I thought you were
we lost again in the first
That's true.
round.
No, they didn't lose in the first round. They lost in
the
second
round. We didn't get through the first weekend.
Yeah, I thought you were.
We need better.
I thought that you were a number one fan now.
We need better.
Drew Terps over here. It's a strange moment that's occurred.
We need better.
I believe that Ryan Odom wants to be in this area.
I agree.
You can't live in Annapolis and work at VCU. That's not going to work.
Right.
Now, maybe if Mrs. Odom, and the word is that Mrs. Odom loved Annapolis so much, maybe there's some world where she just says, you can have your place.
Is awesome.
It's a great place. Nobody's going to argue about that.
There.
It's beautiful. So if she says, I would like to go back to living there and you can, have your place in Richmond and then we can do, maybe that's the way it works. I don't think that works. I can't speak to their relationship. I think that ultimately if you're Ryan Odom, it's about where do you want this to end? And I think that it's difficult for you to go from Utah State to, let's just say in 2 years, Tony Bennett retires for whatever. He just says, he does the Jay Wright thing where he doesn't need to. He's just, I've won a national championship.
Right.
I'm losing in the first round a lot.
These
right.
scrubs.
Like,
right.
I'm just good.
Okay.
I don't need this anymore. I think it's tougher to go from Utah State to Virginia than it is to go from VCU to Virginia. I think just the geography of that.
You're in the recruiting, the fertile recruiting ground. I get it.
I think that would be the way that Ryan Odom would look at it and say, even if it's a lateral move, it's ultimately the part of the world that I want to end up in, whether it's, or maybe it's, obviously there's a lot of family history at Wake Forest. Maybe that's at some point the job that he wants. Like, whatever it is.
Larinaga can't coach in Miami forever.
Not forever, no question about that. This side of the country, I think it's easier for schools here to say we're hiring the VCU coach than it is the Utah State coach. Like, a lot of people in basketball circles said last year Niko Medved from Colorado State was a very qualified candidate for the Maryland job. And then everybody in the state of Maryland said, who the F is Niko Medved?
Right, sure.
Like, there would have been an uproar if Maryland had hired Niko Medved. And I don't know.
Instead, we got this guy. Now we can't get out of the first round.
It's very weird that all of a sudden it's super weird.
I passed your bracket to him, by the way.
Oh, great, man! I got 2 out of 4. Nailed it.
I had FAU.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I had FAU, San Diego State. I had UConn. Who else did I have in my Final Four? I had FAU, San Diego State, UConn. I don't remember who my other team was in the Final Four.
Okay.
But I had FAU.
It's amazing.
Played San Diego
Unbelievable.
State.
I just didn't. It's incredible. It's incredible that you did. Why didn't you bet more?
I had Miami.
Oh, my God.
So I had Texas,
did really well.
Kansas State. So I was in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Who's going to win?
Who's playing? Oh, I think
He's playing.
I think
sounds like me talking about the Masters.
I think UConn will beat FAU in the final.
UConn beats FAU in the final. So everybody is in agreement that it's UConn's kind of to lose at this point. I do think
which is bizarre, right?
It's almost insane from where they were.
They weren't even a factor in
February
1st.
No, at all.
Miami got beat by Maryland by 50 points. Miami was good.
It's so funny.
But again,
it's so
it's
funny
bizarre.
to think about that. Like it's so funny to look back at
They
that.
blew a 25-point lead to Florida State in February.
Dude,
That's
these
correct.
4
And Florida
teams,
State was awful.
These 4 teams.
And wasn't it at home?
I think it was.
These 4 teams are unbelievable that they're in the final.
Do you think this is the future of the NCAA? Do you think that between the portal and NIL, there will not be dominant teams, and it would just default to? We've always talked about.
I don't know what the NIL has to do with it, but
it's
just the upheaval.
Well, the NIL it sort of plays into the portal. The idea of free agency in college basketball, that you can't build really good teams for an entire season. It's just going to be, did you do enough to get in, and then whatever happens over the span of 6 games is what happens.
It may encourage more guys to take a 5th year, like Jameer Young, instead of going overseas.
That will end. Like, there's only 4 years of you getting the option for a 5th year. Like, after everybody that came into college basketball starting in 2021 does not get the option
one more
for
year
the 5th year.
and that's
Correct.
it. Right.
So that's over.
Something's going on. I mean, it's really. But I always say this, and I'm not suggesting that they should do it the way the women do it, but because I'm going to counter myself when I say this. The best teams in women's basketball sort of kind of wind up getting there, right? Now, your argument may be, well, that's because they get to go play at home, where the landscape is tilted in their favor.
It is tougher, sure.
And in this tournament, I've always said this, the thing that equalizes the field is the neutral court.
There were also still 2 number 1 seeds knocked out on the first weekend in the women's tournament as well.
But generally speaking, that doesn't happen.
We don't normally see this.
And in this men's tournament, the great equalizer is the neutral court, by far.
Mm-hmm.
This is how. If FAU played Purdue,
but it still wasn't like this 10 years ago.
It wasn't FAU. Fairleigh Dickinson.
Right.
If Fairleigh Dickinson played Purdue 10 times at Purdue, they'd lose all 10 games.
Almost certain.
Without question. So the neutral court definitely has a way of neutralizing.
How about
things.
that?
Right. So I think you see this when it's. I do think you see this when it's a neutral court. You see more of it. You see more teams beating teams, and you're like, how's that happen? But these 4 in particular, it's bizarre. And I just can't get over that these are the 4 final teams. It's incredible.
I don't think it's going to be like this every year. I think that next year
Duke will be back.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got like 5 of the top 10 players coming in next year.
Well, they upped their payroll.
Yeah, they had to. They had to.
Tired of losing to North Carolina.
Right? I don't think
that guy did a nice job this year, though. The Shire kid.
I think he did a decent job.
Yeah, he did a nice job. Dude, it's impossible to follow this guy. It's impossible.
Oh yeah.
You're following, arguably the greatest college basketball coach ever.
I agree.
You're following him, and you're.
But are you sure that he's not really the coach still? Like, and I mean to be honest about that.
I don't think so.
Are you sure, particularly with recruiting? Are you sure that he isn't still a major factor? I find it very hard to believe he single-handedly picked the guy that was going to replace him and is just not involved at all. Really?
I don't know. I mean, I think he could be involved.
I think this goes back to our debate about the succession thing. Like,
I think he could be involved, but I don't know to what degree you think he would.
No, I don't think he's in-game coaching, but I absolutely still believe that Mike Krzyzewski is making phone calls in recruiting, and Mike Krzyzewski is still
maybe. But
you would say they'd be insane to not have him do that.
They still have to play basketball.
You're right, and they lost. I'm not sure if you remember that.
I know. I was so disappointed.
I know you were. You son of a bitch. I know you were.
I had them winning the whole thing.
The NFL, by the way, tabled all of the fun rule proposals that you guys were looking at yesterday. They brought in the number 0. They did.
The only thing they did dumb was the Thursday thing.
Well, yeah, that's different.
Let's give 2 Thursday night games to teams.
Yeah. Well, and then
I'll tell you what I liked. I liked in lieu of the onside kick, the 4th down thing. You didn't like that?
I hate it.
I did. I liked it.
That's a joke to me. That's a joke. But I did say if you're going to do it from the 25-yard line. The thing I really don't like about it is that it allows for somebody to just throw a bomb and get beat downfield and draw a pass interference.
So I would almost say
line it up from the 20.
You can't have a pass interference.
Well, I mean, then everybody's just going to commit pass interference on every
There's got to be a way.
No, what I would say is you line them up from the 20, and have them go into the end zone. If they convert there, then they get the ball back at their own 35 or their own 30 or something like that. If you've got to do this.
So like a massive 2-point conversion.
Yes, just take away. It's unfair to the defense to have to defend the whole field. Shorten the field. Make it still beneficial to the defense. If you can convert, God bless you.
4th and 20. If you can throw it from the 20 into the end zone.
Right, and convert. But having to defend the entire field is not fair to the defense that's leading in the game and has done all the work. Too. Like, go line them up at the 20, make them go into the end zone and see if they can convert. If you feel the need to do this, I would just say it shouldn't be easier for you to try to get the ball back when you've been getting your ass kicked all game.
I agree. Lamar just tweeted out, Harbaugh sucks, and so does Eric.
I don't think that's what he said. I don't think that's the case.
That's what it just says here. LJ era.
Is that
Harbaugh sucks, and so does Eric.
Is that what you see there?
Who's your pick for the your first Raven to wear number 0?
Bateman. Well, Rashad Bateman's already said he already tweeted about it. I don't think he said he's going to, but he definitely already put out a tweet.
Is that who you give it to?
If you wear 0, you're a 0.
Why do you care?
Number 0?
He shouldn't wear 0.
No one should wear 0.
He wore number 0 in college. He was pretty good.
Oh, yeah, it was college.
Yeah, you're a 0.
Anything else?
If I'm coaching, no one wears 0.
Okay, we got to take one more break.
It's like 13. Who's ever been good?
We got to take a break. I got a meeting at Glory Days I got to get to. I got to do that.
All right.
You got it. You want to?
I'm going.
All right.
I got to leave.
Well, you could stay if you'd like.
No, I got to go.
All right, very good. DrewsMorningDish.com.
Yes, baseball predictions today.
Fairways and Greens Sunday.
Braves and Guardians in the World Series.
I'm glad you learned what the team is called. Fairways and Greens on Sunday at noon. You'll be previewing the Masters on 105.7 The Fan.
No doubt. You want my Masters winner right now?
Yes, I do.
Should I give it to you?
I would.
In advance of Drew's Morning Dish?
No, I just write it down here and I'll react to it. I'll react to who your Masters winner is.
Okay.
Of course, there's I'm trying to think of who I think it's going to be. I think the name he's going to write down is Shingo Katayama. Is he still
I'm
going to
go Morikawa.
I think he's got a great shot. I got to be honest with you.
Is it Morikawa?
That's a hell of a pick. It's not Morikawa for the record.
There's your winner.
Okay, all right. I mean that would be good for that'd be good for the sport.
There's your winner.
That would be a
I know
good winner.
his form hasn't been great the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, that'd be good for the sport.
But he's your winner.
So go ahead.
Who do you want?
Well, no, it's not who I want.
Who's going to win?
Who I think is going to win. I'm going to go.
Chi Rodriguez.
Why are you hiding yours?
Poor Chi.
With that. I'm going to go with that
Poor
name
Chi.
right there is who I think is going to win the Masters.
Poor Chi.
Drew Forrester. We'll see you.
Right.
We'll see you next week. Yeah. Okay. Sure. We'll see you in 3 weeks. Whatever it's going to be. Maybe let Griffin know what your plans are, so I'm not moving guests around because he'll be here for the 10 a.m. hour. So Griffin starts booking guests at 10 a.m. hour. I'm like, move him to the 11 a.m. hour if Drew's going to be here in the 10 a.m. hour.
I'll be here for a while.
Oh, for God's sakes. Come back in. Tidbit Tuba to wrap up the day. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Baseball season is finally here, and what better way to celebrate than with some fresh gear from Birdland Sports? As a small business run by O's fans, Birdland Sports offers a great selection of unofficial merchandise, including unique designs like Birds Are Coming tees, player cartoon shirts, and championship prediction designs. And the best part, their prices are more affordable than the big guys. Get high-quality gear without breaking the bank. So whether you're heading to the ballpark or watching from home, show your love for the birds with Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com today to browse their collection and gear up for the season. Let's go O's!
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Have you experienced hardship due to COVID-19? CCBC is here to help. With funding available for short-term career programs, you can get back on your feet in no time. Starting this March, become a certified apartment maintenance technician to secure your future. CCBC's program offers hands-on training and prepares you for a rewarding career in the growing field of property management. Don't wait any longer. Call 443-840-2222 or online at ccbcmd.edu for more details. CCBC Apartment Maintenance Technician. Your new career starts now with funding available. 443-840-2222 or ccbcmd.edu.
Another Orioles Orioles season is in the books, and the Bat-Around was there every step of the way as the Birds posted their first winning season in 6 years. And after promoting 2 #1 overall prospects in Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, Mike Elias has said it's liftoff from here. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, and along with my co-host Zach Goodman, we'll be here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon all off season, discussing every signing, trade, and waiver claim as we navigate the cold winter months that lead to spring training. You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And if you miss a show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. So tune into the Bat-Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
If you need more of Glenn, you can also hear him every Sunday with Rita on 105.7 The Fan. But also, if you need more of Glenn, what's wrong with you?
All right, winding down. Drew's said he was leaving, and he hasn't left yet.
Well, I got stuff going on.
You got stuff going on?
I got to get a check.
Well, help us out.
I got to get a check from John. It's been 2 years.
Yeah. I still wouldn't hold your breath. I still wouldn't hold your breath.
Come and meet my buddy Rocco.
Yeah. All right, just stay. We'll just do the tidbit and two, and we'll wrap up the show. That's all we're doing.
Isn't there something I can do to sabotage this segment?
Oh, just being here. Yes. You've done a great job of it. What else? What other shtick did you prepare that you haven't worked out of your system? Is that your dog?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then go let Knox out.
I will. You can wait.
Tidbit is brought to you, I don't know what we're doing, by the Baltimore County Police Department. They're holding a hiring. See ya. Drew Forrester. They're holding a hiring camp. By the way, you missed the trash can. You're just leaving trash on the floor. So other than that, appreciate it. They're holding a hiring camp this Saturday. If you have a passion for service and you're looking for a career for life, 8:30 on Saturday morning, the Baltimore County Police Department is hosting this hiring camp. 410-887-5521 is the phone number. You've got to get signed up by calling that number. You have to call that number in order to get signed up. You can't just show up at the Public Safety Building in Towson. If this is the time for you, if you want to be a part of the change that you want to see in the community, if you've been looking for a career change, they have very competitive salaries and bonuses, incentives, advancement opportunities with the Baltimore County Police Department. Join BaltimoreCountyPD.com to find out more. But if you want to be there on Saturday for the hiring camp, they're doing everything. 410-887-5521. Tidbit.
All right, so this will be the first Final Four without an All-American ever.
That's interesting.
No first-teamer, no second-teamer, no third-teamer in the final. Voting began in 1948. This is the first time that there will be no All-American.
Yeah, it's interesting.
In the Final Four. Also, it is the first time since 1970.
We can go through. There's reasons for that, right? Like this goes back to once upon a time guys stayed in school longer, and so like there were more veteran teams. There's reasons for it, but it also speaks to how random this year's Final Four is, for sure.
First time since 1970.
I don't even know who the argument is. Is Sonego the best player left in the Final Four at this
Isaiah
point?
Wong, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I
guess Sonego because just because he's so big and
yeah. Like I just don't even. It's not a star-powered Final Four for sure.
This will be the first time since 1970.
There wasn't a whole lot of star power in the whole tournament either.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
we talked about. There's a reason why there was a reason why the women were the ones getting the NIL, deals for the commercials because Caitlin Clark's a star, Aaliyah Boston's a star. It's like Angel Reese is a star.
No one can name a Duke player right now.
100%. Yeah. I mean, the only players that were known commodities in college basketball this season
Armando Bacot, maybe.
I guess just because he had made a run, he'll be back next year. Brandon Miller. And Zach Edey and Drew Timme and, Trace Jackson Davis.
Yeah.
It was just that kind of year.
First time since 1970 that three teams will make their Final Four debut in the same Final Four. Those three teams in 1970.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it could be anybody. Oregon might have. No, they were in there before.
Yeah, they're all mid-majors.
Seton Hall could have been in there. Syracuse could have been 7. I don't know.
St. Bonaventure.
Okay.
Jacksonville.
And
New Mexico State.
All right, so those are much more random. I was thinking it was possible as programs that turned into big time. New Mexico State, of course, this year we found out was just a money laundering scheme. Like, that's all that New Mexico State basketball was.
Tough year for them.
Yeah.
Tough year for the Aggies. And what a drop-off, too, because they were like, what were they, like, undefeated sometime within the last 5 years? Or almost they were undefeated in the conference, like, a couple years in a row, Mexico State. It'll be the first time that 2 teams from the state of Florida make their Final Four appearances. The only time that in tournament history where 2 teams from the same state made the Final Four was 1954. State of Pennsylvania saw LaSalle and Penn.
How about that, if you say so?
Or no, sorry, Penn State.
Oh, Penn State. All right.
My fault.
I'm surprised Penn State ever made a Final Four.
I know, I'm surprised too.
Yeah. I actually would be less surprised by Penn making a Final Four than Penn State making a Final Four.
Tonight, Kevin Durant will make his son's home debut.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a couple weeks ago, but then he slipped.
Make sure the floor is dry tonight.
Yes.
And
Charles Barkley called him a baby or something.
Did he really?
He said it like it was. I think he said he was sensitive.
He'll be trying to break Charles's home debut record with the Suns of 37 points.
Okay.
So that's what that's the thing to watch.
Sure.
Klay Thompson and Steph Curry both have now made 253s in the same season. This is the first time they've done this since 2017. And the third time they've done it overall.
Despite injuries, despite like everything. It's remarkable. Right?
Third time they've done it. They did it back-to-back in 15-16, and then 16-17. They did it back-to-back. This is the third year they've done it. No other duo has ever scored 253s.
Man.
Yeah.
And again, they haven't played every game.
Yeah.
And the season's not over.
Baseball Savant came out with a new catching stat. They're actually coming out with another one, I think. Either it already did, but this one came out at the beginning of the month. It is called Blocks Above Average. And it takes the blocking numbers from like wild pitch, pass ball numbers from last year, and Adley Rutschman, number 1 on the list, most blocks above average, 18.
Cool.
Do you think you can name the?
No, not a chance in hell. What are we seriously doing? Is this really what you came up with?
Yeah.
I'm just guessing catchers.
How would I? The best catchers.
It's not a statistic that I would have any ability to know. I'd just be literally guessing names of catchers.
Got to know everyone that's chasing Adley.
Real Muto
is third. He had 14 blocks above average.
I mean, he's
last
good.
year.
So, like, that makes sense. Will Smith.
Will Smith, not the greatest. He had 6 blocks. He was bottom. He
Stinks.
11th.
Stinks. They should kick him out of baseball the way they kicked him out of the Academy Awards.
See if we can round out the top 5.
Salvador Perez,
not known for his defensive catching abilities anymore. Only 5 blocks above
Wilson
average.
Contreras.
Not Wilson Contreras.
The dude in Kirk, Toronto.
Alejandro Kirk, 4th on the list. 12 blocks above average.
How many guys am I trying to name? I don't even know if I know this many more catchers.
2 more. Give me 2 more so we can round out the top 5.
I'm really not sure that I know more.
Yankees catcher.
Oh God. Oh God.
He was on
Oh God. Shut up. The Yankees catcher Trevino?
Yep, Jose Trevino. Jose Trevino was second best defensive catcher in terms of blocking.
Okay.
He had 15 blocks above average, so Adley is still 3 outs above the next best guy.
Everybody else sucks.
Rounding out the fifth, he's now on the Braves. He was on the A's last year. He's got a brother that plays the same position. One of the Murphy brothers.
Oh, Sean Murphy?
Sean Murphy of the A's had 12 blocks above average. Tomas Nido as well. Top 6.
Okay.
Those are the top 6 best blocking catchers in the league.
Super
Adley,
random.
far and away the best one.
Just me name some catchers. And then I realized I don't know that many catchers
Robinson
anymore.
Chirinos was somehow, he was in the top 13 with also 6.
Good for
so
Robbie. Well, that was one of the things we talked about before Adley Rutschman got here. Is he was definitely a better option than, some of the guys the Orioles had trotted out before. Do we know the story? Is James McCann going to be good for opening day? Or?
No, I don't think so.
So
I think Ben Boom is going to be on the opening day.
Ben Boom will be there. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Not sure when McCann's supposed to come back.
I guess that means he'll play on Sunday. Well, I don't know. Saturday's game is an afternoon game. It's not they're not playing a night game in Boston, are they?
Excellent question.
I don't even remember now off the top of my head. For some reason, I feel like Saturday's game is an afternoon game. But
it kind of makes sense, just being in Boston. I don't know.
Yeah, Saturday's game is an afternoon game. But I still could see them giving... So the first day game after night game scenario is next Wednesday. They play a 2 o'clock game in Texas. So they would definitely need another catcher by then. But
kind of could just see it.
It wouldn't surprise me if on Sunday. Like, I know that seems a little bit over the top. You played 2 games in 3 days, and now you need a day off.
Yeah,
but
maybe on Sunday because Cole Irvin's going. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know either. All right, very good. Tubular, brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, which is available for free. Speaking of the Orioles, that's Gunnar Henderson. He's on the cover. Go get it before it's gone. Daddy gone. The love is gone here in a couple of weeks. Print issue of Press Box available right now. Here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. I don't think there's any broadcast at all, but you can go down to Camden Yards tonight because tonight is Navy UMBC baseball at Camden Yards, 6 o'clock for that game. I think it's like $10 to get in. I think students get in for free, something like that. But I don't believe there's maybe I'm wrong. I kept searching. I don't believe there's any broadcast at all for this game tonight.
How strict do you think they're going to be? Like, if I just show, does it
I think it's UMBC students. Yes, I don't think it's or Naval Academy. I don't think it's, Towson students get into the UMBC Navy.
I'm a student, man.
I don't think that's the case. Maryland women's lacrosse at 8 tonight on Big Ten Network against Princeton. Mount St. Mary's lacrosse is at VMI at 4 on ESPN+. Stevenson's at home against Kane tonight at 6 on GoMustangSports.tv. Yes, that is the mayor of Knoxville, Glenn Kane Jacobs, who is going. They're going to play a lacrosse game against him. But the problem is, he of course is an actual demon and will bring hellfire. And I don't know what it is that you do against that.
In that real matchup,
it's
11 lacrosse players
against one demon from hell. Griffin, I don't know. I think I might like the demon's chances. The high school Jam Fest, the slam dunk contest, is 7 o'clock on ESPN2.
I'll take Bronny.
Sure. I don't even know if he's in it. TNT's got Islanders Capitals at 7:30, Wild Avalanche at 10. ESPN for Mavs Sixers at 7:30, and then T-Wolves Suns with Kevin Durant playing at home at 10. The round 1 of the Augusta National Women's Amateur today at 1:30 on the Golf Channel, Tennis Channel for coverage of the Miami Open, TBS for AEW Dynamite at 8. Some non-sports highlights.
Just a couple new episodes of Survivor. Jason Bateman's going to be on Jimmy Kimmel because he's also in that Air movie with about Air Jordan. Kevin Bacon's going to be on Fallon. I have no clue what he's promoting or whatever, but Kevin Bacon will be on Fallon along with Jay Farrow. Adam Scott will be on Seth Meyers for Party Down. Finale is this Friday night, the season finale.
Okay.
And then the final season of Riverdale.
I'm still watching old Party Down. Yeah. I'm not going to the way that I've planned it out with Succession, I'm not going to get there with Party Down. But it's not a conversation show, so I'm not worried about it.
Final season of Riverdale.
Sure. That's the one with the Archie.
The high school.
And
Yes,
correct.
Yes. Yeah. Mandalorian, new episode, finale, season 2 finale of The Bad Batch. The animated Clone Wars show. Love it. Apple TV Plus, of course. Ted Lasso, new episode of that. And then the Big Door Prize series premiere with Chris O'Dowd. He lives in a town. The mysterious kind of just machine pops up, which it tells you your true potential.
If you say so.
And people are like, oh my God, it's true. And then they kind of go crazy over it.
We'll just go with that.
The Big Door Prize.
PressBoxOnline.com/offers is where you can get the best offers for signing up for sports betting, including if you bet $50 with BetFred right now, you get up to $1,100 in bonus Fred bets. But you have to go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Again, PressBoxOnline.com/offers in order to take advantage. Thanks today to Drew. Thanks to Mark Feinsand. Thanks to Jon Meoli. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything tomorrow?
Stuff and things.
Okay. Big day ahead. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Baltimore County Police Department, Problem Gambling, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, CCBC, Birdland Sports, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. Go Maryland Women's Lacrosse, go Mount St. Mary, Stevenson Lacrosse, and Navy or UMBC Baseball. Duke sucks.